Welcome to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show, and alongside me this Saturday afternoon for the next 4 hours, Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo MacLeod. We will take in all the matches in the FA Cup across Great Britain, north and south of the border, but of course the emphasis on Scottish football and the Scottish Cup. Delighted to have your company, and hopefully you are going to stay with us and interact with us as well at Peter and Roughie on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Roughie. Scottish Cup ties aplenty, and more than a few FA Cup matches down south to look forward to, and there's more than a few stories that I think it'll be interesting to hear the opinions of our three panellists today on the suggestion of video referees to help in the FA Cup and the Scottish Cup next season. It's been a long time coming, Roughie, but I think this will open the floodgates.
Yep, I think with all the criticism that the referees have had this year, particularly Willie Collum, it's something needs to be done, because their character's been brought in and everything. You know, they're absolutely getting destroyed in every mistake that they make, and it's a hard job that they make. They have to make that decision instantly. We get the chance to see it 2 or 3 times. I hope they're in agreement that they want to do it, because I know, talking to certain referees, they wanted to be the ones that made the decisions. But I think with everything that's went on this year, I think it'll be a good thing for the game.
Yep, and already, Murdo, you can see the mood of Roughie. He's highlighted just one referee in particular, just to really make that whole family feel uneasy.
He is the one that's been getting it, and unfairly as well. You know, okay, he's made some bad decisions, but I mean, I'm sure if you look at every referee, he's been highlighted more than anybody else.
I think the good thing though, Peter, if he's the one that's been highlighted, Alan, well, that's going to take it a step the right way, because obviously if it's a penalty, it's got to be in the box, you've got to see it again, and I think there've been so many decisions, and I think it'll be a help for the referees, because there's so many referees going out there and they're looking at players, and you think, is that a trip there? He's given a penalty kick. He'll look at it again at night and think, oh, he's dived, he's put his foot against the opposition player. So I think it'll really help the referees, and eventually know that it's going to happen next year in the Scottish Cup. So that's just the start of it, but hopefully it'll not go on too long. Do you know what I mean? You're going to stop the game, because we're talking about it if it's like rugby, that they go to the screen and all that. We've not got that time in football, so it's going to be a short time, so they've got to make a quick decision, sitting watching the TV screen. Yep,
I think, you know, as I mentioned to Roughie, it may well open the floodgates on this one to try and implement it in the top flight in the Barclays Premier League and the Premiership here in Scotland. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Gordon Smith, penalties, goals, red cards, the time delay that Murdo was talking about as well. So when you look at all those things, do you think it's covering all bases? Obviously, mistaken identity is thrown in there too.
Yeah, I'm surprised that the FAs are bringing it in, because in my opinion it was be a FIFA decision to bring this sort of thing in, because it's usually IFAB that makes the decision. That's what happened with goal line technology. It had to be FIFA that agreed to it and was allowing even experiments to take place. I first introduced this myself in 2 committees I was on, FIFA and UEFA Football Committee, in 2009, because I felt for such a long time that we're not using technology properly. And what I put forward as my own proposal was, and it was rejected by both committees, was the fact that it should be 2 challenges per game from the technical area. So the technical area is allowed 2 challenges. If they get them right, they've still got their technical challenge. If they get them wrong, their 2 are gone, like tennis. You get your 2 challenges of decisions. And I brought this forward, and people, I mean, I'm not joking, Peter, when I say it, the mindset was, oh, we don't want this in football. This takes away from the game. That's part of the part. This is what people were saying. This is ex-players were saying this too. Part of the thing about the game is that the discussion afterwards, because the decisions are wrong, they think that's all part of football.
Yeah, I think we all tried to get further forward using goal line technology, but I think that's just a very small part of it, because I think the consequences when you get someone sent off, you know, maybe the striker's went into the box, he's dived, he's made a bit of contact, he's dived, he's won the penalty kick, the centre back gets sent off, he gets suspended the following week. So all of a sudden, you know, the repercussions of that. So if someone can sit down, watch the television and say he's dived, and maybe book him, and then get on with the game.
Well, the one I brought up at the meeting was it actually not happened long before it, Murdo, was the Thierry Henry handball World Cup. He brought the ball down with his hand, played it across, France score. Ireland are out the World Cup and they can't do anything about it. And see, I'm sitting at home watching that, and by the time that was shown about 3 times, Ireland still hadn't kicked off at that point. So you think to yourself, that could easily be changed without any real time delay for the people watching it. I think we should have brought this in years ago. It can only be for the top level because it does need a certain amount of cameras at the game. But surely if referees are corrected, the referees are the ones that are going to benefit from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, the technology is certainly better than a $5 million payoff to the particular organisation for admitting to get it wrong. But that's what happened with the Republic of Ireland. I mean, I'm not saying anything out of school here. This one cost FIFA $5 million for admitting the fact that they got it wrong. So technology needs to be brought in. I do think in the top flight, though, I do think because technology is moving ever so quickly, Roughie, you will have, the technology at every ground and left there.
Yeah, but as Murdo says, we want it as quick as possible. I do think it adds a wee bit of excitement too. I mean, I watch the cricket and I watch the Wimbledon, and I do think as long as it's not too long, it does add a wee bit of excitement.
Well,
I'm sure the supporters.
Do you agree to 2 challenges per game, per technical area though, or just any amount?
No, I think somebody's sitting at the side making the decision. Somebody at the side. They'll have to explain to us how they're going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, you can give us your thoughts on that at Peter and Roughie on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Roughie. We're going to have a quick break, then we're going round the grounds and we'll be looking at all the key games. And Murdo and Gordon and I will look at each other and assess who watches cricket. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday football show. There's been a few changes to the studio. One of them is upset Murdo McLeod's wife. It's as simple as that. She clearly feels as if there's been a bit of computer jiggery pokery, Roughie, in the studio, which I feel as if it's only right and proper that we just mentioned to Mary that we've got a new badge. We got this made, Roughie, because this is our new team badge. We wanted something to distinguish ourselves.
Yeah, but I think it looks actually a lot better there than the side of your house.
Yeah. So I just thought, for the benefit of Mrs. McLeod, there's no computer jiggery pokery here. No. If we had that kind of technology, I certainly would have gone for 3 younger pundits. So we've got the badge there. That's the team ready, and you can tell we've had a right good argument about the video technology because we're still arguing about it in the break, Murdo.
Yeah, I think it's always going to be like that. It's great for football that you're going to have an argument. No, you're talking about it's going to be the fourth official sitting with a monitor in front of him. Yeah. I still think it should be coming from both dugouts.
It's actually going to be the fifth official.
The fifth official, yeah. But I think it should be coming from the dugouts because not all the people, if you're sitting watching it as the fourth official, you're going along with the other official. Whereas if you're a manager sitting and you feel your team's not giving away a penalty and you get a penalty against you, you're going to complain about it. Yeah. And you'll maybe get 2 shouts, and after that, then you're out.
Another thing as well, Murdo, I don't know if both of you agree with it. I mean, you've done it more than me. When you're touchline, you don't see distances the same.
No. Correct, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you're on eye level, you can, if there's something happening away over the other side, I don't think you 100% can tell. Yeah. Rather than seeing it from a certain level of where you are or on the television.
The problem that was thrown up when I was presenting this at the committee meetings, one of the problems that was thrown up, which would be a problem, is if something happens and very quickly something happens, the other team score. Do you know what I mean? Imagine you get a penalty claim and the opposition, while you're actually appealing it before the game, even the fifth official could see a replay, the opposition score.
To be honest with you, we discussed this last night, Gordon, at the St Mirren game. The odds on that, the percentages are really, really small on it. I think it's something that can be sacrificed. Where I think the biggest problem will come here is what you were talking about, Murdo, was how many challenges at all. I don't think I think what will happen is the fifth official will look at incidents and then alert the referee, who will then say, this is a penalty and here's why. There's a video decision. This is something else. And what I'm led to believe is it won't be a situation like in rugby where the actual video is shown up there on the screen because there's no big cheer. There's no big cheer. And of course, I still think, to take it a stage further, I still think at one point there will be a manager comes out and saying, well, the fifth official, who's the video referee, has never played the game and has clearly interpreted that picture wrong. Yes. It's a stonewall certainty because that's the way our game goes.
Absolutely, and you're right. I wonder if it would be a scenario, Peter, where actually you have to sort of say the game has to stop immediately to look at an incident. You know what I mean? I mean, there will be certain incidents will already be stopped. I mean, it could be a tackle from a player that the referee is deciding, I wonder whether I'm going to give a red card here or whatever, and then you can look at it and say, no, it's a yellow, or yes, it was a red when he's maybe going to give a yellow. But there's certain instances you might just have to go. If it's a penalty incident, for example, a goal scored, you might have to say, right, stop, right, we need to look at this. But I think it has to come in. I think the game nowadays, there's more and more football on TV. People are watching it. You're seeing mistakes being made while you're actually watching it, and you're thinking, this could be sorted right away. The referee has been made a fool of here. He's getting slaughtered. He's getting all the stick, and yet this could be corrected right now. Yeah, absolutely. Why are we not doing it?
Okay, let me tell you that there are games actually underway at the moment. Wickham against Aston Villa's 1-1, and now Linlithgow Rose won 4-1 in the Scottish Cup. That was an early kick-off. Travis scored for Forfar, Michael Travis, after 32 minutes, and then the equaliser from Rory McLennan. So 1-1 in that game. There are some games that certainly are interesting this afternoon. I'm going to take you to one of them right now at the Shibury Excelsior Stadium for the preview of a game that Mixu Patalainen has suggested a shock might be in the air. Does he mean a Dundee United win? Let's find out with a preview from Derek Clark.
Yeah, definitely. United visit New Broomfield for the first time in 4 years today. Who knows the way things are going? They may be regular visitors here next season. This is a potential banana skin with a capital B for United. They come into this game and not couldn't come in worse form. They've not won in 9, they've lost 7 of those 9 fixtures, and defeat here would compound the misery on the Tangerine. Saying that though, looking back over the history of these two teams meeting in the Scottish Cup, the omens do look good for the Arabs. They've met on 9 occasions. Airdrie have prevailed just once back in 1937, and on top of that, 5 of United's victories have been part of runs that's taken them all the way to the final. Team-wise, Mixie Pastelainen makes 2 changes from the side that lost to Dundee last week. Out goes McGowan and Gunning. In their place comes Dunnan and Donaldson. Airdrie, meanwhile, come into the game off the back of that Monklands derby win over Albion Rovers last week, which was Eddie O'Leary Black's first win as Diamond's boss. And despite being a United fan, I'm sure he won't give a jot about them this afternoon. He makes 3 changes from the side that won last week. So out goes Parry, the goalkeeper, he's suspended. Morton and Morgan drop to the bench. In their place comes Ferguson, the goalkeeper, Lister, and the guy you had on in the show in midweek, Brian Prunty.
Okay, thanks very much to Derek Clark. We will get an update on the teams from Derek very shortly as well. It's always good when you get a manager coming out and saying, I used to be a Dundee United fan as well, just to smooth the way there. Yeah. But Eddie O'Leary Black has been on this programme on a couple of occasions, and the last couple of years have been unbelievable for him, Murdo.
Yeah, it's incredible. Now he's against a side, but we're talking about it. There's no way that he'll be thinking, I'm a Dundee United fan. It's all about Airdrie today. And we're talking about it so much about Dundee United. Could be a shock. I think United, this will be a start for them. I think that they'll win today. I think Airdrie will make it tough, but I think United, just a wee bit of pressure off them, not playing in the SPL, not sitting at the bottom of the table. Now they've got a chance, and they've got a reasonable record in the Scottish Cup over the last few years, so I think they'll triumph.
Yeah, there's 2 divisions between the 2 teams. I mean, Airdrie won last week, but they've not been in great form, has to be said. Prior to this, 3 defeats before that in the league. But I have to say, I agree with Murdo to an extent. That Dundee United, if they're going to, if they are on recovery, if they're going to start playing well and getting games, they need to start winning this type of game today, because there's no doubt about it, this would be a major blow for Dundee United if they were to get out the cup this early too. I know that the league is their most important thing at the moment. They have to get things going in the league. A cup run won't really mean that much to them if even they get to the quarter-final, semi-final, if they don't stay in the Premier Division. So, but I think they want to win today. Airdrie's got a good AstroTurf pitch, so it shouldn't really affect them that much.
I think the other thing as well, Peter, that Dundee United, you look at Liverpool last night, playing Exeter, and they put out a second 11. No, they just put out. There's no way Dundee United will put out a weekend side today. I think they'll want to get a good result and got to get themselves in a good run, and I think today is so important for them.
Yeah, I think the good thing as well for them as well, they're not at home. You know, the pressure of playing in front of your home support when you're not doing well has been far too much for some of them. And the most important thing is when they score first, you know, then they've been doing that regularly. You know, if they score first this time, they've sort of got to capitalise on it and see the game out.
Exactly, they've done it 6 times this season. They've actually scored the first goal and failed to win any of the 6 times they did. So this is a crucial, whether they score first or not. I agree that this is a crucial game for them to go down there. I mean, would we consider it, you know, people say at times what shocks in the cup, it probably wouldn't be considered a shock if Dundee United lost today, considering the form they're in, but it would be a surprise more than anything rather than a shock.
Okay, we will keep our eyes on that one. Equally so at Fir Park, it's Motherwell against Cove Rangers. I don't think we're anticipating a shock at Fir Park. Certainly looking at the weather over the last 24 hours, I was wondering whether the match was going to get the go-ahead. We'll go there now to find out the state of the pitch. How is it looking out there at Fir Park, Laura Braddon?
Yes, this game is very much on here at Fir Park. It's looking good actually. The undersoil heating was on overnight. The ground staff have been out since 6 o'clock this morning. They even had fans out shoveling the snow from the surrounding areas. So the stage is well and truly set here for the real magic of the cup to emerge at Fir Park. This Cove Rangers side, they're looking to enter the history books and reach the 5th round of the Scottish Cup for the first time in their existence. They're currently sitting 2nd in the Highland League and have equalled their greatest ever run by getting this far, something they've only ever done once before. That was back in 2007-8 season. Shifting Motherwell will be no easy task though. Mark McGee's just won Manager of the Month for December, and they have a striker who is on fire just now. Louis Malt has 12 goals to his name this season. 7 of them have came in the last 9 games, so he's going to be a danger this afternoon naturally. The home side will be looking to better last year's run as well. In fact, it wasn't even much of a run. They fell at the first hurdle going out to Dundee United before Christmas. On paper though, this should be nothing more than a formality for Motherwell, but considering how exciting a day this is in the Scottish football calendar, Peter, you just never know what lies ahead.
Yeah, these are always the tricky ones, but I think when you listen to the stats that have just been relayed to us by Laura, I do not anticipate any problems for a rejuvenated Motherwell side under Mark McGee.
Yeah, there's a very good spirit about them just now. No, Mark's got them working harder at training. He's got a good team spirit just now, and they're winning games. And when you start going up the table, the first thing they're doing is looking to get the team above. So everything's been great in the league. Now the Scottish Cup, they want to go on a good run. No, it should be a home victory, but Cove will come down, work them hard, make it difficult for them, and the attitude's got to be right from the Motherwell players today.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's just one of a number of games we'll be keeping your eye on across the divisions. Of course, Rangers and Celtic are in action tomorrow. We'll be discussing them and some of the stories that have been emerging over the last 24 hours concerning a number of clubs with regards to the transfer window, because that could be the key issue, Roughie, as far as the January transfer window. A cup run is nice, but if you can get additional players in there as well. There's no doubt about the tie of the round today. It's Hearts against Aberdeen, but Don's boss Derek McInnes has already maybe surprised even me by suggesting that there's no money there to spend for Aberdeen in the transfer window.
Yeah, and that just shows you the advantage of the teams like Rangers and Celtic have over the likes of Aberdeen. There's Rangers were able to call on, I think it was a £6.5 million loan from supporters, and Aberdeen don't have that resource, and they have to go on with what they've got. But certainly I think he has got players to see himself out the rest of the season. I think he's looking at a striker on loan. But I think this transfer window might be a wee bit more exciting than the last year, because there are teams going for things that psychologically, if they get the right player, it could obviously be upbeat for the supporters and it could just kick you on a wee bit. So I think this signing window will be exciting for certain teams if they can bring certain players in.
I think it's really important for Aberdeen just maybe to bring in one player just to lift the rest of the squad, because I think they're a very good side. They've got a good squad, but just someone that's as good as, if not better than what they've got, that's got a name and it'll come up to Aberdeen.
In what position?
I think you can play in the middle of the park, or even a striker. They've got strikers, but just in case they get an injury problem or suspensions. But I think bringing a new player of quality into the squad at training every morning lifts the rest of the players round about him.
I think a striker, agree with Murdo on that point, Gordon, because quite simply, when it gets to the latter stages of a match, it's a 0-0. If you've got somebody that can score goals, and this league is, we've all suggested it's going to be done and dusted early, but it's not. They're still not away from. Celtic are still not away.
I know what you're saying, Peter, but they've got the top scorer in the league in their team, so they have Shearer there, who's the top scorer, and he was last season as well. So,
Rooney.
Well, Rooney's Rooney, I meant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, Dundee's away.
Have you met Murdo?
The Murdo played. Yeah. Rooney, no, they've got a top scorer there, and as I say, in the league. And I think that from that point of view, I think they do maybe need a striker, because Good Willie hasn't really challenged him enough. I think he's there too, and you look at it and say, well, the owner might be saying, look, we've got the players here. We've got a squad, we've got a challenge in different positions. Because they only really play one striker, because they've got McGinn and obviously Hayes is playing there too, and they're two really good attacking players. You've got McLean just behind them that can score goals, Paulett, people that challenge for a place. So from that point of view, you're looking at a scenario there where they've got a good squad. I think maybe a defender would also have been something. Maybe like I know they've got cover there, but I think another top class centre back would be a big boost for them, because I think sometimes they lose a few goals that they shouldn't.
Let's ask Roughie then on the basis of the expectation, because Derek McInnes mentioned it last week about, and maybe they're not getting the credit they deserve because we are pushing this Aberdeen should be trying to win the league angle on them, and that's maybe doing them a disservice. Maybe in the conversation he's had with the Aberdeen board, maybe Derek McInnes and the board have said, okay, let's be realistic about this. Have you got a good enough squad that can win a bit of silverware? he will then give them an answer on that. There's not a manager I know, Roughie, since the dawn of time who said, I have enough players. I mean, he will have said, I'd like another player in to try and push Celtic in the league, surely.
Yeah, I still believe they will bring in a couple of players, but there won't be money spent. I think that's the point he's making. We don't have money to throw out there. We don't have $500,000 to go out and throw at a player, but we will have money to bring a couple of players in on loan. Obviously, some players might leave, but I think deep down, I think Aberdeen have always been like that. You know, I've always thought that, you know, because they're so far away, nobody gives them the credit they should get. So, I mean, that's been there since the Alec Ferguson days. You know, when that's the motivation he used to wind them up with. Everybody's not giving you the credit. Let's show them. So, I think the Aberdeen boys know what it's all about. But I do expect Aberdeen to bring in a couple of players.
Okay, and their opposition today at one of the grounds that certainly, if you're looking for excitement, it doesn't get any better. Tynecastle, Hearts, Robbie Neilson already, Murdo suggesting that they should be serious contenders for the Scottish Cup. Are they what you would see as a classic cup side, the Jambos?
Well, obviously, when you look down in the Scottish Cup just now, you've got Celtic at the top. They're the main favourites, I would say. And then you've got Aberdeen, and the way the league is just now, and I think Hearts, they're the third favourites. I think that they're a good side, especially if they get home draws. I think they're tough to beat at Tynecastle. They generate a fantastic atmosphere at the ground. It's difficult to go and win there. You've seen Celtic there a fortnight ago, twice in front, twice been pegged back, and good attitude from the Hearts players. And this is a chance for them to go and win some silverware. They'll be looking at it. Aberdeen will be looking at it. Not every team will be looking at it just now. No, you've got Inverness will still be looking, and St Johnstone after winning a couple of years back. So you've got 4 or 5 teams will fancy their chances.
And if you weren't going to pick Celtic, who would it be?
Who would it be? I would go down towards Aberdeen.
You'd go for Aberdeen?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at it, Murdo, what I'm saying is the last 2 years were won by 2 teams that had never won a Scottish Cup before, St Johnstone and Aberdeen. So you surely, St Johnstone, and Inverness. So you're looking at a scenario there where everybody must have a chance. The main thing about it, for everybody's point of view, is somebody has to knock Celtic out. That's it. Celtic are favourites. They are the team that you give the most respect to in terms of the chance of winning it. So you look at it and you think, well, if Celtic aren't there, everybody's got a chance. So I would probably go, if I had to pick another team, I would probably say Aberdeen as well.
Well, I mean, there's no point in looking at you, Roughie, because clearly over the last couple of months, anybody that's playing against Hearts, you've tipped them. So you've gone for Aberdeen again. You've gone for
I've gone for Aberdeen, but obviously Willie Miller and Alec McLeish would love to stay fit. No, I think the cup, as the guys will tell you, it's all about the draw.
Yeah.
You know, if you can stay away from the big boys, you can waltz right through there, and then once you get your quarter-final, semi-final, rub of the green, wee bit of luck here and there. But I certainly think that the teams that you have all spoke about will be there or thereabouts. But I do think that the likes of St Johnstone and Inverness, because of the success they'll have, will really believe that whoever they play in a cup in a one-off game, they can do it.
And if Mother will say something, that even Mother will start to put a run together. Do you know what I mean? That they're starting to get results, they're starting to win games. They've got players, they've got Moult, obviously, and McDonald there, who are goal scorers. I mean, they've got a fair bit of experience in their team. Mother will, if Mark McGee turns them around, they could become a challenging team.
No, I'm not for a minute suggesting this, Murdo, and I'm not trying to be in any way facetious towards Hibernian because it's been 1902. But sooner or later, they are going to win the Scottish Cup. I mean, whether you guys and me are here, I don't know, but I'd love to see them win it, and I can understand.
What you want to look at me there?
No. Talking about a 10-year window. What about? I mean, I can understand what Alan Stubbs is saying on it. I mean, I've tipped Hearts to beat Aberdeen. I think Hearts, if you're looking, I agree with Robbie Neilson. I think they've got the team that could go in and win the Scottish Cup. But soft spot, Hibs, surely sometime they're going to win it.
It would be great to see Hibs win it. No, they got to 2 cup finals back to back and lost both of them, but no, they're capable of getting there, and it's all down to do with the draw. No, we can sit today and you can just tick off who you fancy, but then if the big guns miss out each other, then it's and then they keep on knocking out the smaller clubs, and that's fine. But you look at Falkirk had a fantastic run to get to the final. Ross County's been and having a great run. Do you know what I mean? So it's all about the draw. And if you could talk about Celtic and Aberdeen being the two favourites, what happens when they draw each other in the next round?
Yeah.
One of them's got to go out, so someone else becomes one of the runners.
Yeah.
So I think over the years, just what you're saying, the last couple of years, it's sides it's not won it before. Inverness coming in again, they could do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other side of it is you're looking at Hibs. I mean, you're talking about Hibs there, Peter. You think back to the teams I've had over the years. I mean, in my era, when I came into football at first, one of the first games I played, the Scottish Cup tie, was at Easter Road against a tremendous Hibs team. You know that, and they got
the famous
final.
5?
Well, that was before that. I was in the famous 5. No, even you take that team, you take the team with the famous 5. They couldn't win the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and they could win the league.
It is amazing, isn't
I know
it?
they won the league, and then the team, as I say, in the 70s, were like Pat Stanton, and Alec Cropley, and John Blackley, and all these people. You had a couple of them on the show, didn't you? I mean, the guys like that, they had a tremendous team, and yet they could not win the Scottish Cup. I mean, they got to finals, but you're saying, well, if that team couldn't win it, is the current Hibs team really compare with them? I don't think it does compare.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Roughie, Gordon and I watched a game last night that really the first half of it football stopped. It was St Mirren against Partick Thistle. We had one shot in after 41 minutes of the game. So clearly, when I think back to some of the Hibs sides that have been playing in Scottish Cup and the talent that they had at their disposal, I'm not for a minute suggesting, in this day and age that the Hibs side are capable. I think, maybe quarters, semis, they could certainly get to that. I'm just looking for a side that you think has got an element that can go all the way.
No, I think of all the teams that the guys have spoken, Celtic, Aberdeen, Hearts are ahead of Hibs. I don't think Hibs are the perfect fix yet. They rely on too many players turning it on in the one day. McGinn, Cummins. So no, I don't think that'll be the big objective this year. I think they'll be wanting to get into that playoff or the winning the league and get in and then build on that. But I definitely don't think it's a Hibs year this year.
And how things have changed. Am I doing Rangers a disservice here?
I was just going to say to you, you're looking at Rangers who are sitting top of the table above Hibs just now, and they thumped Hibs a fortnight ago. So all of a sudden, Rangers' target obviously is getting into the top league this year.
Yeah.
But the manager and the coaching staff, Big Davey, will be looking at it and thinking, we've got a chance. Just depending on all the draws, as I said earlier on, but they'll have a chance. I think that there'll be a strong side this year. A one-off game at Ibrox, and I know St Johnstone went in the Cup last year and won there, but I think when you look at Rangers, if they get home games against the Premier League sides, I think they could do quite well this year.
Gordon, what about from your point of view? I mean, I mentioned there, am I doing Rangers a disservice? Because, the way when we're looking at all the fixtures here, suddenly our eyes are not drawn towards Rangers. Ruffy's already mentioned 3 teams. Rangers not in the 3 that he's mentioning. But, slowly but surely, we watched the game against Hibernian. This is a side that got a good 4-2 win, a good bit of belief about them. They've got goal scorers on their side. Yeah.
Well, I think that it depends. I think this Rangers current team would depend on the draw, to be fair, who they got. I mean, if they got a decent draw tomorrow, Cowdenbeath at home, decent one. Depends who they get, but I think they're not at the standard of it. And the reason I'm saying that is because they could be an improving team. I think Matt Warburton is getting them better. He's bringing in other players. But I look back to the St Johnstone game this season already in the League Cup, and Rangers were beaten quite simply that night. I felt St John's were too good for them, and I felt it showed a gulf, I think, between Rangers and what's in the Premier League, because as I say, St Johnstone are well up the table, but they beat Rangers comfortably. So you'd have to say at this moment, looking at it and forecasting, I don't think Rangers come into contention as a challenger for the Cup, but you never know. Once we could be talking again in a couple of rounds time, maybe a quarter final, a semi-final, and if Rangers are still there, then they come into contention.
Yeah. Okay, I can tell you it's now Linlithgow Rose 1, Forfar 2. Ian Campbell scoring from the penalty spot 5 minutes into the second half. Let's have a look at the fixtures for the Scottish Cup. Wickham against Aston Villa's finished 1-1, by the way, in the FA Cup down south. We'll take a look at the FA Cup shortly as well. But there you have it. The confirmation of last night, Partick Thistle into the last 16 with a 2-1 win at St Mirren. Elsewhere, the latest on it is Linlithgow Rose 1 4 for 2, as I've just told you, and there indeed are the fixtures, all of them today. Hearts against Aberdeen's a 5:30 kick-off, and the Sunday games, Rangers against Cowdenbeath, Stranraer against Celtic, 2 matches we'll be talking about very shortly indeed. So there are the fixtures. Of course, congratulations to Partick Thistle, because while we're crying out for little bits of quality, I'm going to be fair to Alec Ray. He has inherited a squad. He's got to do the best he possibly can with them. They didn't really threaten Thistle in the first half, and only really threatened in the latter stages in the second half. Gordon Smith. Partick Thistle deserved the win, but it was tough to watch.
It was a terrible first half, wasn't it? I remember I said at half time, we were all having a chat, and I said, this game's not rubbish, I said it would need to improve to be rubbish. The way because it was an absolute stinker. It really was. I was sitting there, and one of the few times you're thinking, I'm really feeling the cold here. There was nothing distracting what I felt with the weather, because it was one of the poorest games. You're right. It was like the pass at the back, and then they give the ball away. Then the other team had it, pass, give it away. There was one shot off target in about the 23rd minute, and the second shot of the first half was on target, was the 41st minute, both from Partick. So Mirren never had an effort at goal in the first half. So they're the home team.
Well, I must admit, I'm going to give a journalist a mention here. Ewan Graham, who was sitting next to me, deserves a special mention, because as I was sitting next to him, I'd written down one chance, Murdo, in the game. I thought, this game is dire, and Ewan is giving it. I'm thinking, what is he typing? He had about 7 paragraphs, and then eventually
I looked down here and I saw a bit saying, and Colin Montgomery was at the game. He did a piece on that.
It was incredible. I thought to myself, full marks to him, because he was writing paragraphs and paragraphs, and I said to him, Ewan, what are you writing there? This game's terrible. And he went, Partick Thistle were born in 1870.
Was there any reaction to the fans sitting together?
Listen, there was no reaction, because they were all sleeping, Murdo. There was no desire to fight anywhere in the stand, because most of them couldn't believe how bad it was. I actually said to somebody, there's no chance of any disruption here, because most of them have tartan shawls over their knees, and there's no chance they're going to wake up. But it did improve in the second half, I have to say. Let's hope for goals coming up when the games kick off at 3. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo MacLeod are with me over the course of the Saturday afternoon. Hopefully you're going to stay with us, get yourself a wee cup of tea, or in some cases some warm water. Keeps you going as well. That's Murdo MacLeod's favourite tipple these days, warm water.
Hot water.
Yeah, where did you get that from?
For health reasons.
Yeah.
I think it's good for you.
Okay.
Other than drinking 10 cups of tea or coffee a day, hot water.
There you are. You get it all here, and Roughie's recipe for quiche is coming up later on in the programme. I was mentioning there about how bad the St Mirren Partick Thistle game was, and Des McKeown sent us a tweet saying, I thought it was a brilliant game. I had Daniel Seaborn at 33-1 for the first goal, which there's always got to be an angle on this. We would have had Des today, Roughie, but unfortunately there are some people who train too much and then are susceptible to colds, and they're just weak. It's as simple as that.
That situation, is it? Well, let's be fair, he's probably ran up a 3-man rows in the one day, and then just probably went for a 20-kilo cycle, and then followed by a
20-kilo
swim.
cycle?
With a cycle,
From Back to the Future?
To be fair, if he had £1,000 in Daniel Seaborn to score the first goal, he's probably in Lanzarote just now.
Absolutely.
A nice wee break.
33-1, it's good going, and that brings me nicely to all the fixtures that we did see there. We've got a treble today, which I don't really hold out any great hope if you were thinking, what are you guys going for today? Because we've gone for Dundee United, St Johnstone and Ross County, which... Murdo, what's your take on that? Is that a good treble for us today?
Yeah, I think you'll be quite comfortable.
Yeah?
Yeah, I do. I think obviously Dundee United's the one that's under most pressure, but I think St Johnstone at home will find it tough. Kelly's had a wee spark the last couple of matches, but I think St Johnstone will just come out on top there. And Ross County at Dunfermline, missing a couple of strikers, Ross County, but I still think they'll be strong enough.
Yeah, okay, let's go back to Fir Park because Laura Brannan is getting ready for that one. She has the teams for Motherwell against Cove Rangers.
Yeah, it's no change here from Motherwell. They line up Conor Ripley in goal, back four of Josh Law, Ben Hall, Stephen McManus and Stephen Hamill. Midfield four of Liam Grimshaw, Keith Lasley, Stephen Pearson, Marvin Johnson, and up front Scott McDonald and Louis Malt. Three changes for Cove Rangers: in come Mackenzie, Redford and Scully, out goal McCafferty, Campbell and Watt. So they line up Stuart Mackenzie in goal, back four of Alan Redford, Darren Kelly, Eric Watson, Stuart Walker, in front of them Stuart Duff. Midfield four of Daniel Park, Blair Ewell, Sterling Smith, Connor Scully, and up front for Cove Rangers is Darryl Nicholl.
Okay, it was probably a huge mistake in my part to go to Fir Park to get those teams from Laura Brannan, because the public announcement there was far louder. And the good news is that people in the area where Cove play, which totally and utterly escapes me, they also have the teams from Fir Park as well, Murdo.
They don't need to tune in for us there. That was a loud one. It always is at Motherwell.
Yeah.
No, it's always good, and it's the old music as well. He plays during the game, half time and pre-match as well, but it's always fairly loud.
Yeah, which I have to say, Murdo, it possibly, and I know I'm going to suffer the wrath of Motherwell fans here, but of the old tunes, it's possibly one of the worst. It is the worst.
It's a matter of taste.
There is a matter of taste. It's a 1940s, clearly.
Listen, he's not going to play songs that you like, he's playing songs that he likes.
That's exactly it. He does go into some great classic 70s songs after that, but nevertheless.
I was going to say, I see Cove have made a couple of changes. Where you want to discuss that? Or? No, we don't. We don't. We just hope at the end of the day it's a good match and somebody we recognise scores for them. But if we need to go in depth, Gordon Smith will bring it to you shortly after this break. Of the games that are played this afternoon, Roughie, we're going to go to AIRDRIONIANS shortly. Is there any other match that you see a major shock for us this afternoon as the goals start hitting the back of the net?
Well, I don't think it'd be a massive shock, Dunfermline beating Ross County, but I think that would be a tough one for the SPL side. But obviously Murdo, I've decided that Ross County will win that because they are my selection on that treble. Looking at the other ones, I think Cove Rangers are giving Motherwell a game.
Yeah.
I think they'll make it very, very hard for them. I can't see there aren't that many games you would say would be a shock. Obviously, Annan beating Hamilton would be a shock.
Yeah.
Stirling beating Inverness would be a shock.
Well, Wraith Hibs is an interesting one because Hibs, they played each other 3 times already in the league this year, and Hibs have won the 3 of them. So you just wonder whether they'll keep that form going. They've been tight games though. You just wonder whether Wraith eventually are going to get a win against Hibs. The Wraith are right up their 3rd spot at the moment, so it'll be a hard game.
I think for most of the games today, Gordon, it's all about attitude from the teams in the higher leagues. If they switch off a wee bit because if it's windy, the weather's not great, if some of the players switch off, there could be an upset because a lot of the teams will just pull up their sleeves and get in about them. So I think it's so important for the teams in the top flight. If their attitude's good, I don't think you'll get any surprises today.
In a strange sort of way, and it was reflected last night, Roughie, just briefly on this, excuse me, Exeter drew 2-2 with Liverpool. It was a less than full strength. In fact, the 3rd team that Liverpool selected for the game. Is there a loss of the romanticism of the cup?
I think in the early stages it looks at, you talked about down in England, it looks that way.
Well,
but
even
certainly,
up here, I mean, the emphasis
I think most of the teams will throw out their best sides. But down in England they do tamper away early on, and it's surprising because you get to the final of that cup and it's a fantastic day out for everybody.
You're right.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you right now that Linlithgow certainly haven't given up the ghost in their matches, and Linlithgow rose 4 for 3, and of course Linlithgow down to 10 men, having had a man sent off when Campbell converted the penalty 5 minutes into the second half. They're making a fight of it, and certainly if they are going to go out, they're going to go out with all guns blazing. Can your team win the Scottish Cup? Keep it here on STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow, because we'll be back with a big kick-off fast approaching. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday football show, fast approaching kick-off across the country. Let's go to the Shibury Excelsior Stadium. It is a mouthful, but nevertheless, it's a game that everybody will be keeping a close eye on today. AIRDRIEONIANS against Dundee United. Could there be a shock there? Let's get the teams from Derek Clark.
Yeah, before I give you the input, there's just a special note for the crowd today. I mean, they're all bunked into the main stand, both sets of supporters, and it's about half full, so not a good crowd whatsoever here at Airdrie. I know the conditions are bad, but you would expect a bit more fans to make the trip out here. But there's two changes that Dundee United make from the side that lost to Dundee last week. So out goes McGowan and Gunning, in comes Durnan and Donaldson. They line up Kawashima in goals, back three, Dillon, Durnan, Donaldson, a midfield of Fraser, Rankin, Demel, Spittle and Dixon, with Erskine supporting Mackay up top. On the bench for the Arabs this afternoon, Suter, Payton, Muirhead, Murray, Spark, Rieske and Zwick is the sub goalie. For Airdrie, they make three changes from the side that beat Albion Rovers last week. So out goes Parry, the goalkeeper, Morton and Morgan drop to the bench. In their place come Ferguson, Lister and Prunty. So line up in a 4-4-2 formation. Ferguson in goals, Bain, Crichton, Lithgow and the nail at the back for Cox, Watt, Fitzpatrick and Cadden at the midfield, with Prunty supporting Lister up top. On the bench for the Diamonds this afternoon, Stuart, Glaken, Brown, Morgan, Kerr, Morton and Mack. And the referee for this one, Greg Aitken.
You see, that's what happens, Roughie, when you come on the programme in midweek, you get a start. Brian Prunty's in there from the start. They're playing two up front.
Yeah, we had him on the show, and he was the thought that he was being phased out a wee bit by a new formation that they were playing, one striker up, and they were going for youth. But that'll be a surprise for him today. But he's got all the experience, and he certainly, we all know he can score that spectacular goal. And surely, when you get to the Scottish Cup, that's what you like to see. You like to see games being won by something special.
Yep, absolutely. Listen, Murdo, Linlithgow rose down to 10 men, and it's 3-3.
Fantastic. 3-1 down when they went down to 10 men. I think they scored 2 goals in the space of 90 seconds. And obviously they just thrown caution to the wind, pulled their sleeves up and just had a real go at forward. Now, I think sometimes when you get back to 3-3, you're thinking, oh, we'll hang on here and just get a wee bit more defensive. Normally you just keep on going, just score more goals. But it's going to be tough for Forfar, because if Linlithgow keep on going at them, it's a great support there at Linlithgow. They get behind the team, so that could be the first shock of the cup.
It'd be some win considering the circumstances.
Yeah.
You'd be 3-1 down and then going to 10 men as well, and then winning the game from there. It would be unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And the great thing about it from Linlithgow's point of view is the Forfar players will be able to hear everything that the fans are shouting at them, Roughie, because it's one of those grounds.
Yeah, it certainly is. I went down there myself when I was the juniors in a Scottish Cup tie, and there was 4,500 at the game, and it'll be a really tight, great atmosphere. As you say, players, supporters behind the goals as well. You know, it'll be a tremendous last 15 minutes, and as Murdo said, I'm sure Linlithgow will be throwing everything at it, and Forfar have to make their mind up. You know, they try and go for the replay and sit in. We'll just have to wait and see how that one turns out.
Yeah, and when you were there as the Glenafton manager at Linlithgow, did they just basically have a go at you for the way you looked, or did they have a go at you for how you let the entire nation down over 3 World Cups?
No, not at all. They were very quiet after we went 3-0 up.
I'm happy with that line, Roughie.
Just in the corner now. Well done, Alan.
He's happy with that one as well. Listen, give me your take on this one. Mark Oxley, Paul Hanlon, Liam Fontaine, Lewis Stevenson, Nicholas Gunnarsson, Marvin Bartley, Dylan McGeoch, John McGinn, James Keatings, Dominic Malonga and Chris Dagnall. And no, Roughie, Jason Cummings in the side. Can we look too much into that?
No, I think obviously we'll have to find out why. You know, he's the main man, he's the top goal scorer. You know, you would expect it to be an injury, you know, unless there's anything else happening behind the scenes. But certainly, you know, that's 4 players on that side who are not regulars week to week, and it'll be a big ask for them, particularly the 2 new guys coming in who'll have to adapt to the style of football probably they've never experienced before. And I think that one could go either way. As Gordon says, I think Wraiths have got quality on their side. The 2 of them have played each other a few times. You get to know each other. but I still think Hibs might just sneak that one.
Yeah, well, let me bring you the Wraith Rovers side as we get ever closer to the kick-off. Just a couple of minutes before the referee blows the whistle to get things underway. Kevin Cuthbert, Kyle Benedictus, Ross Matthews, Ian Davison, Rory McKeown, Ross Callaghan, David Bates, James Cragen, Scott Robertson, Michael Megginson and John Daly. Wouldn't it just be like John Daly, Murdo, to score a goal that knocks Hibs out of the cup and joins Hearts and the coaching staff the week after?
Yeah, these things happen in football, and obviously we're sitting just now, but it's interesting with the Cummings thing. I think he's either got an injury, or there maybe someone's shown a bit of interest, and the last thing Hibs would want is if he gets injured and can't get transferred within.
You can't sell him in this window, you just cannot sell him, Murdo.
Hibs have got to hang on to everyone. Honestly, I think if they're going to have a challenge against Rangers and Falkirk, I think they've got to hang on to their full squad.
The other question that would come up would be maybe he's been left out so he's not cup tied. Maybe the club that wants him doesn't want him cup tied. You don't even know these kind of things. You know?
I don't think that'll be Rangers, to be honest with you.
I don't think so.
Well, because
I don't think they'll sell him to Rangers.
No, because there was a special reception for him, Roughie over at Ibrox. It was priceless.
Yeah, there certainly was. You know, and I think that's a good sign. If you're a player and you're going to grounds and people are booing you, they know that you're something special. They know they could come back. So, you know, all credit to him. He's had a good season. I think he has got a bigger club to go to, but like the guys, you know, you're sending out the wrong message to the Hibs supporters if you think about selling him. You know, there's so much at stake now to get into the big league.
Yeah, Annan against Hamilton is a match that I think we should keep an eye on as well, guys, because Jim Chapman's boys have been going well. They've had a couple of slip-ups over the last couple of weeks, especially against Clyde, which I think certainly left the manager more than a little aggrieved.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at the side: Jordan Hart, Stephen Black, Martin McNiff, Peter Watson, Steve Sloan, Ryan McStay, Ryan Finney, Matthew Flynn, Rabin Omar, Peter Weatherson and Josh Todd. Now there's one man that sits and screams out at me there. Peter Weatherson has been a goal scorer forever.
All these days. Fantastic. You know, all the clubs throughout Scotland that he's been to, he always scores goals, and he could be the danger today for Hamilton. But I just felt, I've seen Hamilton a couple of weeks back against Inverness. They were behind, they rallied back, and it was similar to the game against Motherwell last week. They were behind and then they fought back to get a draw there against Motherwell. So I think they're in a bit of a high, albeit they're slipping down the table, but I think now that the manager's got them in tow. But Annan, they're the type of side, they'll be getting forward, and Weatherston, as you know, can just nick a goal. Yeah,
and of course there's an unfamiliar name in the Hamilton lineup, Alejandro Dacol. We haven't actually seen the Brazilian for such a long time, so he's just slowly but surely sneaked back into the equation in the game against Motherwell, but suddenly he's got a chance to fire himself right into contention for 2016, because 2015 was a disappointment for him.
Yeah, he never really captured the imagination at that time, you're right, but getting back in the team now, because the Motherwell result was a good one for them, considering the fact they came back in that game. But in fairness, Annan have slipped up of late. They've had 2 defeats and a draw the last 3 games. When they were on a good run, they slipped off the top of the table as well, and don't have a league match today, obviously, because they're still in the cup. But I think that you would imagine that Hamilton, that's a game that Hamilton should win, and that would also be a major disappointment if they don't win.
Yep, and I can tell you right now, right at the back post, just sneaking in there, heading the ball in, Louis Moult has scored for Motherwell. That's the first goal of the afternoon, so no problem there for Mark McGee's side. What a start. Motherwell 1, Cove Rangers 0.
Yeah, it's a long way down for Cove, isn't it? And then to lose a goal, obviously they've been working all week, Peter. They're making sure they're not going to give any goals away in the first 20 minutes, and to lose one in the first minute, it's just a really sore one for them.
Outstanding signing for me, Peter. I've mentioned it before, we've talked about this. Matt McGee's done the right thing going with the front 2, because it's 2 experienced players. You can't keep them both tightly marked, and Moult has been scoring goals, and from cross balls he's great in the air. I think that he's been a really good signing.
Yeah, but I think as far as Motherwell's concerned, when you come up against a minnow, you want to score early on, you want to get relaxed. That's what's happened there today, and you'd be sitting here and you would imagine that Motherwell would go on and win that one quite comfortably.
I think sometimes, Peter, it goes 2 ways with games like that and goals like that so early in the game, because sometimes the more experienced side, the top side, if they score an early goal, sometimes their edge can come off their game, thinking, it's going to be too easy.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of go down a level, whereas in the first first 15 minutes, if you're knocking the ball about, making chance after chance and not scoring, you keep that level up. But I think it's so important now for Motherwell to go and get another one and just finish the game off.
Yeah, I can tell you right now that Airdrie really are pressurising Dundee United in the early moments of their Scottish Cup tie, because Kawashima has just had to tip the ball over the bar from Brian Prunty. So clearly, Prunts, as he's known on his Twitter account, he is out there determined to show Eddie Valecki Black that he has a future there. And I think the key point that he was emphasising in the programme in midweek, Roughie, is quite simply, yeah, it's fine going with the young players, as Dundee United have found out as well, but you need that little bit of experience to get them through games, to show them the way.
Yeah, obviously when you've got all the experience, you get into a game like that today, you've no fears, you've done it before. There's lots of, I'm reading the papers, there's lots of young guys at 17, 18 are getting a chance in these games today, and they'll go in with a lot of apprehension. You know, they won't be as confident, they'll be very tense, but certainly somebody like Prunty, you know, who's scored goals at most of the clubs he's been at, he'll be desperate to show everybody what he can still do.
It's key for players though, but the three of us made our debuts in teams, and it's crucial to have experience round about you.
Yeah.
It really is. I mean, if you don't have that, Peter, it's a setback. You've got to have the people round about you that can help you, tell you what you should be doing and all that, and you gain a lot from it. So I think he's quite right to say that it's not just about having good young players coming through. You need a mix.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course you can interact with us this afternoon by all means. I can tell you it's Dunfermline 0, Ross County 1. Yippee! That's our treble on the way now. It looks as if it's going to be a good afternoon, but not quite 33-1 that Des McKeown had in last night's match. But it's a start for us, Ross County, with the opening goal in that game of the Scottish Cup this afternoon. We're going to look at the English FA Cup shortly as well. You can interact with us at Peter and Roughie on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Roughie as well. And I'm going to read this one out because I know Angela Lockhart follows us on Twitter, Roughie. She's a big Hearts fan, and she says, please tell Murdo Aberdeen aren't in the draw for the next round of the Scottish Cup. So she's just reminding you, Murdo, that they're still to try and get past this round. Clearly you must have said something in the context of maybe looking ahead.
Yes.
And Angela's having none of it, because usually, and I'm only saying this from experience, if we post something or have a jambo on, Angela watches the show, tapes it, then tapes it again, tapes the repeat. So there you are. And I can tell you it's another goal for Motherwell, Scott McDonald. And 15 yards out there, just a left-footed shot into the net. Yeah. So it's a 2-0 there, and I think game over. Done and dusted. We're only, 6 minutes into it?
Yeah, game over, I think. I think obviously the Motherwell players went out with a great attitude, 2 goals in the first few minutes, and then the players now will be looking, I want to get a goal today. Yeah. So Malt will want one, Scott McDonald will want more as well.
That's what we said earlier on about Cove Rangers, you know, Highland League team. The difficulty is coping with players. That Motherwell have got a lot of experience in their team, and we said it before even the game started, the front two have made a difference, and they're very, very hard to pick up. 2 players who can score goals, 2 players who can create, and now they've both scored within 6 minutes, and I wouldn't see past them, either the 2 of them scoring again in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what about Angela, by the way? You need to have a long, hard look at yourself.
Kilmarnock have gone a goal up at St Johnstone.
Well, there you are. See, Roughie, that's how this programme works. Everybody interacts as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's worrying for me, especially after the luck we had in getting Chris Miller on the programme. But again, Killie are unpredictable, Gordon.
And they absolutely are. I mean, the funny thing about it is that the only thing I would say is St Johnstone at times, you know, they're a better team away from home, St Johnstone, but Hamilton Accies are losing as well.
For you there, Peter.
Annan are beating Hamilton Accies.
Well, there again, I did mention to you, Roughie, Jim Chapman's side, are more than capable of causing a little cup shock there today.
Yeah, again, that's an environment that the Hamilton players wouldn't have been in before. That'll be another tight stadium, you know, great atmosphere, you know, not getting a lot of time on the ball, and obviously to Annan's advantage because they went 1-0 up.
Craig Slater with a free kick for Killie there, getting the all-important goal in that match. So St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1. What an afternoon. I just get a feeling that we are going to be surprised on more than a few occasions, Murdo, north and south of the border.
Well, that's what we always look for in the cup competitions. Up here, we don't really get too many up here to talk about, but down south there's usually one or two. Even last night with Liverpool, even if it's a third choice of team that they put out last night, it still goes down as Liverpool Football Club get knocked out, but they managed to get a 2-2 draw, so it's
I think you're spot on. I don't think Scotland, and most of the ones we get, the shocks are become memorable, don't they?
Yeah.
Like Berwick Rangers beating Rangers in years 1967, Inverness beating Celtic. You know what I mean? Over the years, there's been very few in Scotland. It mainly is England you get the major shocks.
Yep, absolutely. So Craig Slater with a great free kick, one of those special cup goals that you savour down through the years. Was there a goal in particular, Murdo, that you remember scoring in the Scottish Cup? That sticks in your mind that was special for you?
Scottish Cup, I think I scored one in the semi-final. I didn't get in the final, so I scored the one at Hampden against Hibs. A free kick. Davy Probin touched it to me from about 25 yards, scored.
Yeah, was it a winning goal?
I think it was the fifth.
Okay.
So I think it was I think it was 5-0.
Yeah. Okay. Gordon Smith, was there a particular goal that?
I don't remember scoring that many, but there's one that stood out. I scored against Alloa to win in a replay 1-0, and Willie Fernie, the manager, spoke to me on the Tuesday night and said, "See that goal you scored on Saturday?" I went, "Yeah," and he goes, "I don't want you doing that." I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You're a winger. You stay out in the wing. I don't want you coming away in there." I went, "And scoring the winning goal? You don't want me doing that?" "No, stay in your position. That's your job, to stay out in the wing." I was like, okay. Davy Probin made my goal as well for me. I got a row for scoring a winning goal in a Scottish Cup tie.
Yeah, I think that just tells us that you're not a team player, Gordon. You can't follow instructions.
No. I was so sorry for scoring that winning goal.
A goal's a goal. I mean, I think the modern day game has changed, Roughie. If you've got that skill, just play anywhere.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. You know, that you might be told to play a position, but during the game you find yourself drawn inside, and if you get a goal scoring chance,
it's not an opportunity to be a run.
That's right. You know, you can't just say, "No, I'm not having a shot. I'm not out in the wing."
Yeah.
Listen, Matt Flynn, I don't think Jim Chapman will care where he scored it from. It's a goal for Annan after 6 minutes. They're a goal up on Hamilton Accies. So if you are sitting there just enjoying our coverage, interact with us at Peter and Roughie on Twitter, facebook.com/Peter and Roughie as well. We'll also be discussing something that caught our eye yesterday, which is the Scottish Football Supporters Association have got together with the former First Minister Henry McLeish, and they've introduced a 9-point plan for fans to reclaim the game. If you want to have a look at them just to see exactly what the 9-point plan is, it is lower prices, media friendly, remarket the game, and of course bigger leagues, community clubs, youth investment, more fans on boards, independent auditing and supporter ownership. What do you make of all that, Murdo? How achievable is it? I mean, I hate to be a sceptic, but if we can't get anything major out of two think tanks, what chance have the supporters?
Yeah, well, I think there's a few ideas there you could implement, which is really important, getting the fans involved at the football club. But lower prices, I think that's the one that everybody wants, but I think that's the most difficult one to achieve. Because we're looking at the quality of players, and if we cut our prices, then you're going to cut your budget, and then you'll not be able to bring in players of better qualities.
Yeah, I think, we proposed, we were talking about it all this week, I think getting an area regulated where fans can come in and stand for a cheaper ticket price, I think is definitely one that we should be looking at seriously over the next couple of years, Gordon.
Yeah, I think the prices is very important, because there's no doubt about it, people do find it, because it's not just the price of the game. A lot of times you need to take into account the travel, getting food because of the air, programmes, all that type of thing. The spend is a lot more than just the ticket price. And what they've been looking at, and I know the fan groups have probably been doing this, is other countries as well who have cheaper football prices than we have. Germany's a great example where they've brought a lot of that in. And now I know they've got a bigger TV deal, the more money comes into German football, but the fan ownership thing definitely in a lot of cases is very important. The fact the fans can have more of a say and more of a democracy in terms of running the game.
But I don't think, Peter, you're talking about the fans having their own area to stand and cheaper. I don't see the clubs taking out their seats to give them that area because they know they're going to get more money if they're sitting down in the ground.
Yeah.
And I'd like to see it because I think there's so many clubs available that would have a wee standing area, and I think it would be better for the atmosphere, and I think you get more people going to the games because the atmosphere, so many grounds you go to isn't great. But I think when they're standing up, they're more likely to sing and make a noise.
I agree with that point that Murdo's making. I think the biggest problem here, Roughie, is when you're tight for cash, you're certainly not going to be embracing a number of the issues that the supporters groups are putting forward right now, because every penny is a prisoner. You know, the financial implications of putting that standing area in, maybe not for some championship clubs, but certainly for the premiership clubs in Scotland as well. But we have to do something to get them in. The last 3 points there, I don't think anybody will embrace. Chairman and chief executives, fans on boards, audited accounts out with the main company. I don't think that's going to happen. As Nottingham Forest go one up on Queen's Park Rangers.
Yeah, I think 7, 8 and 9 are the really debatable ones, and that's up to the clubs, you know, whether they allow the fans on board. I do think there should be a fans representation, you know, the feedback from the fans to the club, you know, for anything like that, but actually making decisions on signing players and all that kind of thing, I don't think clubs would allow that.
Okay, Peterborough are 2-0 up on Preston in the FA Cup. There was a magic about the FA Cup down south as well. I mean, I love cup competitions where, you know, people can create wonderful memories. I mean, if we're talking about the FA Cup, just down to, it's a generational thing really. You know, Gordon has his own name etched in the history of the FA Cup, but Ronnie Radford's another one, Gordon, that just springs to mind. You know, an absolute cowfield, and he hits a raker into the roof of the net.
I know. I was amazed how really the FA Cup in England was such a massive tournament. I mean, it was probably bigger than the league title. Fun enough, it was just like almost as more publicity for it, and also it used to be worldwide. I mean, in those days there was very little football on TV, and the FA Cup final was live on television right round the world. I mean, it was, the audience was huge for it, and it was the main game round the world. Apart from it was the main club game round the world was the FA Cup.
Can I suggest something to you? That the FA Cup for me has lost its sparkle in England, and it's basically the day and hour that they allowed Manchester United to go and play in the World Club final.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that was the day that took the edge of it. And then I think the demise of the FA Cup, and I'm sure there's 1,000,001 people who will argue the point here, but the demise of the FA Cup has been quite simply accelerated down to the massive amounts of money that are on offer to stay in the Barclays Premier League. Clubs would sacrifice the FA Cup right now just for survival.
Yeah, that worries me as well, because I spoke about Liverpool last night. They had the third squad out, but I think when you look at the teams in England and they're trying to qualify for the Champions League, it's all about the Champions League, they're sacrificing a cup competition, as Gordon said. I still think it's one of the best days in the calendar when you watch the FA Cup final. You know, the whole thing going down to Wembley, the teams travelling distances, a massive amount of people turning 80,000 in Wembley, and yet I think you're going to get more and more teams from down the league, the lower leagues, because the teams at the top, they're just giving it all up.
No, what it is, it's now, it's become, Peter's absolutely right about one thing, it's become now almost more important for teams to be in the top 4 of the league than it is to win the FA Cup. And that's the truth, because what happens is obviously the owners want that, the money side of it, playing the Champions League and all that, it's become more important.
Dunfermline.
Dunfermline won each now, Dunfermline have equalised.
Yep, Dunfermline won, Ross County won, and what about this for a little cup shock? Arsenal 0, Sunderland 1, if that were to say the same. Jermaine Lenz with a goal, Roughie.
Yeah, we spoke about it last week. That I think it was Arsene Wenger was actually on the television saying that teams like Sunderland and all the other teams in the English Premiership now have money that they can bring a player into the squad that they could never do before. Basically, because the money that you're speaking about, they've got fantastic resources and they're bringing a better player into their side. I would still say that I would bank Arsenal to win that one by the end of the day.
The other thing I was going to say, Peter, was the fact that regarding the FA Cup, a lot of the managers that come into the game now are foreign owners and all that, and there's no doubt about it. See, if you go to other countries, Murdo would tell you this, they don't consider their cup competition important, really, do they?
No.
They don't. No. There's nobody else considers it the way they do in England, and we do to a certain extent here.
Yeah.
The Scottish Cup. And in other countries, it was nothing. I mean, I played in Austria and Switzerland. They didn't even think of the cup competition as being important at all.
Yeah, can tell you, Paul Dixon has just hit the bar for Dundee United, and Spittle followed up with a rebound, but that chance saved by the goalkeeper. So there's chances at both ends between AIRDRIEONIANS and Dundee United in that game. That's one that I think, just in a personal point of view, there could be a little bit of a shock there if Eddie Valecki Black and the Airdrie team get a goal in head. I wonder what reaction the Dundee United players would give their manager Mixu Patalainen. That could be one area for a shock. What do you think? At Peter and Roughie on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Roughie. Earlier on in the programme we were talking about video technology and we did pose the question. We've got a poll running at the moment on Twitter, which is basically, do you think that video technology should be brought into the Premiership? And I wonder where we're standing at the moment on that one. 84% say yes in the poll as it stands. We'll bring you the full result on that before we go off air, but no surprise there.
I can't believe it's only 84%.
Yeah.
I thought it would be 100%, because surely you got to see that it's going to improve the decisions that are made and improve what happens in the game if the video technology is used.
Yep, I can tell you, still 2-0 to Motherwell. They are in control in that match against Cove Rangers. Killy really making the early running in the match against St Johnstone. Josh McGuinness with a shot from the edge of the box, just over the bar. Let's have a look at the latest. I can tell you in the Scottish Cup, it's Montrose 0, East Stirlingshire 1. They just scored that goal just as we were putting up our caption. So my apologies for that. No goals here, Rooney's Dundee United. Annan are in the lead against Hamilton. Dumbarton a goal up against Queen of the South. I think, Roughie, you were thinking Queen of the South might win that one, and there's a long way to go. Fleming with a goal for Dumbarton there. Dunfermline 1, Ross County 1. No goals between Livingston and Morton. Motherwell in control against Cove Rangers. Wraith Rovers and Hibs still waiting on a breakthrough there, but it's Craig Slater who's got the breakthrough for Kilmarnock at McDermott Park against St Johnstone, and it's Stirling Albion 0, Inverness Caledonian Thistle 0. Hearts against Aberdeen. Jambos, if you're getting ready for the match, give us your thoughts on that game. Kicks off at 5:30. Rangers against Cowdenbeath and Stranraer against Celtic takes place tomorrow. Of the two games tomorrow, I wouldn't envisage too many problems for Mark Warburton or Ronnie Dyla's side.
No, I don't think so. I don't think either team should have a problem there, really. I mean, I think they will want to have a go. Both teams will want to have a good run in the Scottish Cup, without doubt. Certainly, Ronnie Dyla's under pressure to get a Scottish Cup victory, whereas Mark Warburton will basically just want a good run there and get as far as he can. But I don't see any problems for either two of them.
Yeah, I can see a great, I've just actually witnessed a great tweet coming in from Jim Black, who says, talking about prices, you can get tickets for Barcelona versus Getafe cheaper than Alloa versus Dumbarton. That can't be right, Murdo.
Well, it shows you how good Alloa and Dumbarton are.
What a
top
great
class.
You should be working for the SPFL.
Dumbarton man, remember?
Yeah, absolutely. But what a great spin on it there.
But you go abroad, you go to Germany, and it's you get into for 15 quid, £10. A lot of the games, top games in the Bundesliga, and they are in Spain as well. And I think that's what we've got to look at. But they're being subsidised by television companies, sponsorships. It's great for all these countries, Germany, Spain. But you come to Scotland, and we've not got enough sponsorship, and that's why the clubs have got to charge that amount of money. money, and the fans are looking at it and they're turning their back on it now, Peter.
Yeah.
And that's the big problem. Fans turning their back because it's getting too expensive.
Yep, I do think we need to look at a rebranding of it, glossing it up. I think we have to look, Gordon Smith, at the relationship between the clubs and the media. I think we have a responsibility to assess how we're reporting it, our angle on it. I do think over the last couple of years, not only in the written press, but certainly right across all the broadcasters, we have made a real concerted effort to try and get people to go out to games.
Absolutely. I mean, at times we have to be honest about it, and we say, when we spoke about the game last night, I mean, the Friday night games, I think are a good thing to have a game on a Friday night. I think you probably get bigger crowds you would normally get on a Saturday. And if it's not a good game, we're entitled to say that. It was a poor game, but we didn't say that the football's always rubbish. We're not doing that. We're saying there are good games and bad games. But you're right, we do promote the game. There's a lot of good young players coming through. There's some good football getting played. But things that the fans are right to look at these things, because the authorities as well have to look at as well what the fans are saying, because the fans are the people. I think it was Jock Stein once said it was that the fans are the people of the game.
Yeah,
the most
without the
people.
fans there's nothing.
That's right. So you've got to look at that and think, we've got to take into account what these people think. I mean, also one of the points they made was their bigger league and all that sort of thing. These are all aspects that people are looking at to say, right, let's get the best from our football. Let's see if we can get a game in this country that gets people off their chairs now. Because another factor I was going to mention that makes it harder now than ever for football clubs is the amount of TV football there is. Let's be honest with you. You know, you take a game. You actually, I've seen me look at a page where you can get an internet of matches, 5 games on TV. And honestly, you go through it, and it can be up to 30, 40 games a week. Yes, you can see from all different leagues in the world on TV. Now, at times there's too much football, I know that, but we want to try and encourage people to go out and watch the live football. Yeah,
absolutely. The FA Cup in England, it's Doncaster 1, Stoke City 1, and Nottingham Forest still leading Queen's Park Rangers by a goal to nil. Thanks to James Woods for his message on facebook.com/Peter and Roughie. He says, I love the Saturday show for all the banter and the chat. And James, we are absolutely delighted that you're watching the programme. We value all the people who take the time to tweet and of course post messages on social media as well. The whole of broadcasting is changing. You can get an immediate reaction on the programme. Murdo, when I was watching you and Gordon play football, we had to wait for a letter to tell us what had happened on the Monday.
Well, that's the thing. No, and it's funny, I was thinking about all the changes with television evidence, and I think when you look back in the days, the referee had time to look at it and see the whole situation unfolding, and people weren't diving and making it a difficult job for him. Whereas nowadays the game's so quick, especially inside the box. It's got to be. It's so quick now for the referee. He's got to make a quick decision, and he's watching it. Did he hit him, or did he bang in? Did he run into him by?
I think as well. I think the modern day player doesn't help things. You know, I think there are more people going down for whatever reason. It's just a mind mentality now that rather than risking your own ability, you just take the penalty.
But that's why now they've got to go with the television, Alan. Because of that, the players are going down far too easily.
Listen, can I just mention, I always like to get some interaction. Of course, we love the fact that on a Saturday and a Monday to Friday, Murdo, players, managers past and present come on the programme, and we're delighted they come on, because after all it's a football show, and we cover as many teams as we possibly can, not just the one or two. And I don't know about you, Roughie, we always say there's always just a wee sprinkling of golden dust. I don't know whether it's the studio or the substantial fees that we're paying that gives them that little...
It must be the studio.
The reason I mention that is because Peter, could you do me a favour, give a shout out to the Falkirk boys. We're watching your show in Will Vaux's house. So John Baird and all the guys at Falkirk, I think it's only fair we give them a wave, because there's a little sprinkling of luck for them there. There we are. And isn't it great? Isn't it great how you wave? Are you waving at the right camera, guys?
I'm actually not waving at John Baird.
No, the reason why you're not waving him is you don't want him to score the 25 goals. Murdo, I don't know how you feel about this, but Yeah, if John Baird gets 25 goals, it's another slap-up meal, the third season in a row.
He's got to take you down south, down to London. You've got to take you down to London if he
That's
gets
what I
25.
like about you. You are in a different wage bracket from us, Murdo. That move to Germany, you still haven't touched the signing on fee.
First Deutschmark still there.
But John Baird, I've got him down for 25.
Brilliant.
His best is 22, but I don't know, I've just got a feeling there's a hat-trick in him, and then there's a...
He's been in here so often though, he's got the gold dust on him now. And I think Alan, you'll need to take Peter out for a meal.
Well, he's only got 10 to go, Roughie. Are you worried?
He's maybe on his diet. He might not be able to.
This is another thing. New fitness regime.
I'll make an exception that night, but that's not to say it's going to happen.
You're only thinking, I remember Roughie, you said before how many league games he's got left, but don't forget he's still got the cup to play.
Yeah, I get caught. It was one of these
playoff games.
I get the old fishing on hook.
That's what I like about you, by the way. Do you see what Gordon did there? Do you see what Gordon did? He says he's still got the cup games and, of course, the playoff game. Of course, if Falkirk win the league, then we can embrace league reconstruction wholeheartedly next season, as Peter Houston. And there it is. We've even got a graphic for it. There it is. The John Baird goal count, 15 goals. That's going to go. He's only got 10 to go. Come on, Bairdy. Just make sure you do all your stretches in the morning. Make sure there's no hamstrings getting pulled. And of course, Will Vaux's house as well. It must be great actually being in the man cave, because we established that last night on the programme that Chris Miller said that his wife built his man cave for him. And a man cave is where you get all your stuff that's your own in there, and you're allowed to sit there and watch the telly. Do you have a man cave, Murdo McLeod? No. You don't have a man cave. It's very difficult when you get 15 spare rooms, isn't it? And a telly in every one of them. Ross County have scored. Dunfermline 1, Ross County 2. Suddenly the treble is back on, Roughie. There was never any doubt in my mind, although no disrespect to Dunfermline. Ross County are one of those sides that even without the two main strikers, they have other players who can step up to the plate, Gordon Smith.
Yeah, they have. I mean, that's the thing about it. It was a disappointing result for them last week, of being losing to Inverness. I thought they would maybe even get a draw in that game, but they didn't. But they've got other players they can put in there. They've got a squad, and they're playing a team. Obviously, Dunfermline are 2 divisions below them, albeit on a good run, good side. But there's nothing to stop Ross County going to win that game. Yeah, well, I was just pointing out that they've got other strikers that can pop up there. Brian Graham scoring the goal. When you lose the likes of Curran and Boyce, you're starting to think, can Graham and Schalk step up to the plate? Well, clearly Graham can.
Well, he was asked today to step up, and he's managed to do that. And that's the thing. Any striker, Peter, no matter how they play, they've got to score a goal. And that's all the strikers want to do. They can maybe not play as well as the rest of the team, but if he nicks a goal for you, that's what he's there for.
Roughie, can you explain this one to me? Because there's a January transfer window, and then there's this summer. Now, we had Michael McGovern in here, the Hamilton Accies goalkeeper, and I think the general view is here that he's got a real chance to pick any club if he has a good final end to the season, and he also has Northern Ireland and the European Championships to look forward to. So he can wait, he can sit it out. I'm just looking at the reports coming in from the Kilmarnock game, and Josh McGuinness is proving to be a real handful for St Johnstone. They just can't handle him, and they haven't been able to actually really put any threat on the Kelly goal. McGuinness is one of these players that I think, when I look at the young boy who was getting pelters off Archie Knox in the sidelines at Aberdeen with Craig Brown, now.
Yeah, I remember it was only yesterday. In fact, it was our first outside broadcast up at Aberdeen when he came on as a substitute, and the ball got squared across the goal. He was coming in on it, and he missed it completely, and the abuse he got for the fans was unbelievable, just because he wasn't a regular player. And then obviously he got offloaded, and he's been about a few clubs. But it's amazing when you're in the limelight and you score a wonderful goal for his country, and the confidence he must have, and looking forward to obviously the championships coming up. And like anybody else, you go to these championships and you do well, who knows where they might end up.
Yep, Norwich 0, Manchester City 2, so clearly Manuel Pellegrini, his side looking comfortable in that. Alec Neil could be heading out of the FA Cup, although I'm not too sure it would bother him that much if they stay in the Barclays Premier League, and I think that would be phenomenal. When you think of where Alec Neil was as a manager, he goes to Norwich City. They're not in the playoff places to get up from the Championship. Suddenly he propels them there. They get to the promised land. You know, he gets a tidy bonus, Murdo, I have to say. I don't want the show to develop into the money programme, but when you bank yourself in excess of £1 million,
great.
it'll be a bigger figure if he keeps them there.
Oh, without a doubt. No, you're looking at the situation, and it used to be the smaller clubs in the top flight in England, their chance of glory was getting to the cup final. Now the chance of glory is just to stay in the top flight, and I think Norwich just now, if they stay in the top flight, Peter, they'll maybe have 2 or 3 million getting put into his bank account.
That's why you're absolutely right. He was well worth the bonus he got, because I mean the bonus was based on the fact that this club had made a fortune financially based on that, because not only they get paid for the money they're in while they're in the Champions League, but if they were to go back out again, you know, you've got your parachute payments as well, which are pretty big compared to anything Norwich were making before. So whatever they paid him as a bonus, Peter, was well deserved.
Yeah, one of the back page headlines that will dominate tomorrow's papers, especially with the FA Cup, Micah Richards, I can tell you, it's 3-0 for Motherwell. Marvin Johnson just skipped in there with a mistake in the back line, and at 15 yards out, he's just fired it into the top left-hand corner. It's 3-0. What a sensational strike that is. Look at that, Roughie, on monitor 54 that we've just purchased. That is a fantastic. The replay as well. I've slowed it down for you.
Wow.
That's amazing, isn't it? Murdo, do you get the feeling that he just doesn't grasp it? Honestly. You'll never get an Oscar. You're rubbish at this game. You're rubbish.
I thought he might have hit it, he's right.
Yeah, absolutely.
That opportunity.
But you see, the reason I say that to you, Roughie, is because when the two boys were working for the British Broadcasting Corporation, we had to find ways to beat them.
Well,
That's what we did.
Actually,
Just make it up.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
You're talking with the guys. Gordon got mentioned today. I don't know if you saw it. That when you were at BBC, you were we've got all these tactics and everything that are going on now with the.
Oh yeah, they've got a new bit of technology.
Gordon was the very first person to bring technology into the BBC. Was that not right? With a Subbuteo board.
Subbuteo board.
Yeah.
It was
fair. We've had the Subbuteo board in here as well.
It was kind of embarrassing, because I did say to him, and it was me that actually stopped him using it. I just said, "This is embarrassing, moving wee men about and doing this."
Let me tell you,
Sky were already doing this.
Yeah, to be perfectly honest with you,
No. He said you were technology. You were the first person to bring that sort of a thing in. But just a wee story, just with talking about Subbuteo. I remember at Partick Thistle with Bertie Auld, and Bertie at half-time talk sometimes could be absolutely crazy, and we had a Subbuteo board. Before the game, he used to move the players and everything a bit, and he came in at half-time. Number 11 was Bobby Houston, and he just flicked it right off the board and he went off.
Yeah, I mean, Subbuteo wasn't an embarrassment. It wasn't an embarrassment in 1976 when I got it for my Christmas, to be perfectly honest.
I know.
Flick to kick was right ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was the only way we could do it in those days, was actually to demonstrate systems and
Why didn't you like it?
I just thought it was so slow to move things about and do it like that. Because already, I must be honest with you, Sky TV were already having the screens doing it. They already were miles ahead technology-wise. That's why I thought it was kind of embarrassing.
We've decided to go for a more basic, back to the original way, which is skill, Murdo. We're concentrating this programme on the skill, the joys of the footballer scoring the goal, the excitement of it all, and a wee bit of banter as well. And I can tell you, with the Wycombe Aston Villa 1-1 draw today, I think the headlines in the FA Cup tomorrow will be about Micah Richards. He had a bust-up with some of the Aston Villa fans at the end of the game. I don't think it's a good idea having an argument with your own set of fans, Murdo.
Especially when the club's not doing well. The fans are frustrated, the players are frustrated as well. You should just keep away. If there's a get together, there's going to be a fight at some point, there's going to be an argument, and if you start arguing with the fans, as you know, it goes viral and everybody talks about it, and then all of a sudden you become the bad player and everybody turns their back on you. But the club's got to come out, he's got to come out and apologise, because he would just be frustrated.
Yeah, have you ever argued with anybody, Gordon, on the pitch, the fans, something like that's got to you?
Not really the supporters. At times you would have a look at you, because maybe they're giving you a bit of stick when you're over to maybe take a throne or something like that. suddenly shout something at you and you just look
I
at them.
regretted that day, Gordon, but it's just one of those things.
Well, I never really get involved in it, but I can understand why managers do. I was assistant manager at St Mirren, and there was one or two people there were shouting at you when you're out in the touchline, but I think Alan Murdo, I just felt that you're only giving them credibility by replying to them. You're as well just like ignoring them and just saying, like, I'm not going to get involved.
I'll tell you my best bit of interaction that I've witnessed in the last week, Roughie, that I thought was absolutely magnificent, is John Stones in his own penalty area, tries a Cruyff turn, then goes the other way, then clears the ball, turns round to the Everton fans and said, calm down, calm down. Well, meanwhile, his manager is panicking, biting his nails. I mean, that's coolness personified.
It certainly is. Well, I think the guys will admit that the worst football fan or supporter was Fairgate Hamilton.
Oh, Hamilton, yeah.
He used to wait in the visiting team bus coming off, and he used to stand there and just throw abuse at everybody that come off the bus, and then he'd go behind the goals and he'd throw abuse at everybody for 90 minutes.
He had an unusual back catalogue of vocabulary. Most of the expletives not really what you'd want for your family when they're going to games, to put it mildly. Brentford 0, Walsall 1. Let me tell you, today's official attendance from the Wraith Rovers game is 5,203. So there's about 3,500 Hibs fans on the march there. And this is the point when you get successful teams, the big clubs as well, out with Celtic and Rangers from the days when they were talking about carrying big supports. Fans will back teams if they sense, you can win something.
Well, I think that's all over the country, Peter, that the teams will, if you're doing well, your fans will come and back you up. And Hibs, they've got a massive support. They're a great support, and they just like to see a successful team on the pitch. And just now, with the Hibs going for the title, and now in the Scottish Cup, because they know it's going to be tough today, going up to Wraith Rovers, it's always going to be a tough game there. They scrambled by, was it 1-0 last week against them? So I think just now that they'll take any victory, but to take 3,000 fans anywhere is good for the game.
Yep, I can tell you in League 2 there are 3 games this afternoon. My apologies for not mentioning them. Montrose 0, East Stirlingshire 2. There you have it there. Arbroath 1, Elgin City 1, East 5-0, Berwick Rangers 0. The other 2 matches, of course, postponed due to Scottish Cup action. Queen's Park and Annan also postponed there, and it was off too quickly before I noticed the other one. Stirling Albion and Clyde. There you are, I got it in there in the end. The other thing I was going to tell you about was the Scottish Cup, the latest so far. If you've got a coupon on or you just love the joys of the Scottish Cup, last night it was St Mirren 1, Partick Thistle 2, and full march to St Mirren Football Club for an initiative which allowed both sets of fans to actually go in the same stand together. It's a novel thing, human beings getting on together. In the Scottish Cup today, what a match. It's Linlithgow rose 3-4 for 3, the full-time score. Linlithgow rose down to 10 men and 3-1 down at one moment in that game. AIRDRIEONIANS 0, Dundee United 0. Annan Athletic 1, Hamilton 0. Is there a shock on there? Dumbarton 1, Queen of the South 0. Dundee and Falkirk, that match was postponed after a 10 AM pitch inspection right now, which is one of those occasions when you have to get players who are not involved just to sit down and enjoy what's happening as the drama unfolds elsewhere. Dunfermline 1, Ross County 2. Dunfermline were a goal up in that game. No goals between Livingston and Morton. Motherwell 3, Cove Rangers 0. Mark McGee's side coasting into the next round. Elsewhere, it's Wraith Rovers 0, Hibs 0, St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1, Craig Slater with a goal, and Stirling Albion 0, Inverness Cally Thistle 0. Hearts and Aberdeen kicks off at 5:30, and it's Rangers Cowdenbeath and Stranraer against Celtic tomorrow. Birmingham City 1, Bournemouth 0. That could be a shock, and when I think about Birmingham City, isn't it amazing, Roughie, when you think about Birmingham City, sometimes it's be careful what you wish for, because eventually they get rid of Alex McLeish, who guided them to League Cup success over Arsenal, no less, and suddenly from there the demise has been unbelievable.
Yeah, we're talking about Birmingham and Aston Villa, and every manager that goes there talks them up. Gordon might know a bit better, being down in England, but they are massive clubs with a massive support, massive area to tap into. It is incredible. They got to the final that year, and yes, obviously Alex Gaelic, went to Aston Villa and it never worked for him there. But massive clubs, and they just need a good run to get them back to where they are.
Colchester 2, Charlton 0, and I can tell you, Josh McGuinness as well from a corner from McHattie has just had a shot just wide. Could have been 2-0.
Yeah, could have been. I mean, say McGuinness is a player that I've been impressed with him. I think he got a big lift from what happened with the Irish team. I think he's been better since he came back from there. I don't think there's any question that it's all to do with confidence, isn't it? But he's a great story. I mean, that night you had him on, Peter, the interview with him was incredible when they found out he'd been a goalkeeper to start with.
Yeah.
And I just found that astonishing. The fact that the boy, he didn't make it as a goalkeeper and asked for a trial as a striker and got it and became a striker. I think it was a great story.
I mean, if anything, it's down to the talent of the boy. And I don't know if you've been in his company, but we've had him on this programme on more than a few occasions, Murdo, and he is, humble, and of course one of those guys who can look positively. When we were talking to him about, it felt as if Archie Knox was always on his case, but he turned around and he said, it was great for me. There was a learning curve. I wanted to do better.
Yeah, good on him. But I think he was the type of striker I was talking about earlier on. He would run about, do all the good things, play well, but not score a goal. And I think over the last few months, I think it's all changed for him now. Playing in the international side, I think that's been a massive boost for him. So all of a sudden his confidence is high. He's doing it now at Kelly, but he's a handful. He's always been a handful, but he never scored the goals in the past. But now he's scoring goals, and he's all-round striker. And I think he's the type of striker that somebody maybe fancy.
Yep. Hull City are a goal up on Brighton, and Sheffield Wednesday 1, Fulham 0. If there's a shock in the Scottish Cup or the English FA Cup, we will bring it to you. I must just say, reading this morning, Barry Bannon doing really well at Sheffield Wednesday, which is good news again for Gordon Strachan.
Yeah, I mean, they're on a good run. I mean, they're up challenging for position for a playoff place for the Premiership, so it's good to see him. He's always been a talented player, just never been consistent enough, and some people also say it's because of his physique as well. He's small, he doesn't, he's not physical in that respect, but he's a talent, as you say, football-wise. Watford are a goal up in Newcastle as well.
Yep, Newcastle for me are a club that I think the fans deserve an award for being able to put up with what goes on at that club. I can tell you, Motherwell are 4-0 up. Stephen Pearson, just a break there for Motherwell. It was a corner for actually Cove Rangers, but breaking away with pace, and it was quickly set up in the far side of the goal where Stephen Pearson just unleashed that left foot of his into the back of the net, and he gets yet another goal after scoring in the league as well, Murdo. I'm a huge fan of Pearson because we're talking about someone who has the physique, has the energy, can play a pass as well. He typifies the drive at the heart of that Motherwell midfield. Yeah,
I think he's part of the new Motherwell side. He's got good experience, and obviously his attitude today, he's still working hard to one side of the pitch to go up to the other end and score a goal, score the fourth goal. But he's the type of player, he's got good experience, and I think that's so important now for that Motherwell squad. They've got 5 or 6 that most clubs would take, and Mark McGee's got them, but I think he's given them a fresh energy for the all going out, because over the last couple of seasons they've struggled and the heads have been down. Now all of a sudden they look as though in a game that they should be winning comfortably, that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I just got here, and I don't know if you guys are any of you guys superstitious? I just want to know.
No.
Okay then, because we've got Stephen Sweeney who's just sent in a tweet. He said omens for Hearts in the final, and I think you alluded to this earlier on, Gordon, but year ending in a 6, 1956. It was you, Murdo, my apologies. 1956, 1976, 1996 and 2006. Could it be that the High Bees, could it be that the Hearts are heading for a final? Again, Murdo. 4, 6 superstitions. Some people like to pull their left sock up and then their right sock, and then some people don't put their top on until they go out at the tunnel.
On the pitch, well, there's so many players have got wee things like that. I used to go out maybe at the back of the squad and all these kind of things, but It's just up to how good your team is.
But wasn't there one
You're
at
ending
one
in
stage?
sixth.
Wasn't it Tottenham were always doing it? It had to be a 1 in the. Was it 61,
that's
71,
right.
81?
Tottenham as well.
Tottenham used to do that.
Yeah.
Didn't
Do you remember the '76 final that Hearts were in, Roughie?
The one at Parkhead.
In 1976.
Was it Hampden?
No, that was 98.
Hampden it was.
They won 98 at Parkhead.
Against?
Dunfermline was it?
No.
Rangers.
Well,
And 76 was Rangers.
Yeah. Do you remember anything about it?
was it a
There's something
6?
significant about that game.
What year was that?
1976. What was significant about 1976 final between Rangers and Hearts
Hampden.
at Hampden? That's a great thing. I love. There's a great Glasgow word that sums up you three right now. Glaikit. No, that Glaikit.
No, I think you're mistaken.
Well, give us a
Tell us what it is then.
Give us what kind of what?
The game kicked off prior to 3 o'clock, and Derek Johnson had already scored
Before 3.
before 3.
All right.
So
Why did it kick off
look at look at the complete disinterest because he's not involved in it.
Why was it kicked off before 3?
Well, I don't know. The referee just got it wrong, and the game was off, and Johnston had scored already.
And the final score?
3-1 to Rangers. So there is an omen somewhere along the line, and of
For the
course,
60s.
96 was the
Because
final.
Rangers won a treble that year, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Won a treble.
So there you are.
Partick Thistle have got that omen. They won a cup in 21 and 71. 50 years of difference.
Yeah, I don't think people are looking at that as an omen. I think they're looking at that as a real stroke of bad luck over a 50-year period, Roughie. But it's great
Well, the
that.
next one's coming up
Yeah.
soon.
Do you get that feeling? Listen, let's just go quickly to AIRDRIEONIANS against Dundee United. Half time there now.
Yeah, half time at New Broomfield. It's Airdrie 0, Dundee United 0. And what's been an entertaining first 45 minutes despite the lack of goals. The Diamonds started brightly and almost took the lead after just 2 minutes when a Brian Prunty header was tipped over the bar by Kawashima. The Lanarkshire side came close 12 minutes later. This time it was Jim Lister who had a close range effort deflected wide. United came back into the game and came within inches of breaking the deadlock when Paul Dixon rattled the crossbar with a curling effort, and Blair Spittle's shot in the follow-up was well saved by Rowan Ferguson. The Arabs have enjoyed the lion's share of possession as expected, but the Airdrie players are working hard and getting bodies in the way of everything United are throwing at them. As the team's going to break, a cup shock is well and truly on the cards here. Airdrie 0, United 0.
Okay, from that match, let's go to Fir Park where Motherwell are coasting. Laura Brannan.
It took only a matter of seconds to essentially kill this one off as a contest. It was 1 minute on the clock when Louis Malt headed home Josh Law's corner to the back, cross to the back post. Just 5 minutes later, it was Scott McDonald who made it look so easy. He doubled their advantage, finishing off a Stephen Pearson 1-2. It was all Motherwell for the rest of the first half. The third goal came in 33 minutes. Marvin Johnson pounced on a poor clearance, fired in off the bar. And a minute before the half-time whistle blew, Louis Malt played in Stephen Pearson, who from a quick counter-attack slid home to make it 4-0. It's well and truly, I'm going to hedge my bets here and say it's over at Fir Park, and if there is a comeback, it's going to be the greatest one in Scottish Cup history. 4-0 here at Fir Park.
Okay, if there is a comeback by Cove Rangers in the second half of that match, I'm taking Roughie, Gordon Smith and Murdo MacLeod to the Bahamas, where we'll bring you the show live from there next Saturday afternoon. No disrespect to
Come on,
Cove.
Cove.
I think, come on, Cove. We'll find out if it's going to happen next. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo McLeod are our panellists for this Saturday afternoon. Hopefully you're enjoying the chat, the information, the goals as they hit the back of the net. We're bringing you as much information as we possibly can, and of course reaction to some of the major news stories over the last 24 hours. Let's look at the half-times in the Scottish Cup at this moment. Last night it was St Mirren 1, Partick Thistle 2. Linlithgow rose 4 for 3 from the early kick-off today. AIRDRIEONIANS 0, Dundee United 0, as you heard from Derek Clark. Annan Athletic 1, Hamilton Accies 0. Could there be a shock on the cards in that match? That's one that we're going to be keeping across throughout the rest of the afternoon as well. Dumbarton 1, Queen of the South 0. Dunfermline 1, Ross County 2. Livingston 0, Morton 0. Motherwell 4, Cove Rangers 0. Wraith Rovers 0, Hibernian 0. St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1. Stirling Albion 0. Inverness Caledonian Thistle 0. And of course Hearts against Aberdeen is the 5:30 kick-off today, the late one, and it's Rangers Cowdenbeath Stranraer against Celtic tomorrow. What about League 2? Let's have a look at those three games that get the go-ahead. They're not involved in Scottish Cup action. Arbroath 1, Elgin City 1, East Fife 0, Berwick Rangers 0, Montrose 0, East Stirlingshire 2. The other two matches postponed due to the clubs involved in the Scottish Cup. And of the matches down south in the Barclays Premier League, I think Cup shocks, certainly Wycombe deserve a bit of praise, Murdo, for getting a 1-1 against Aston Villa. They will be well worthy of a replay and some good cash going to Villa Park.
Yeah, without a doubt, because the Aston Villa fans will turn up again hoping they're going to go on a run, but obviously there was a fight with the player and the fans, so they'll not be too happy about it. But Wycombe, it's a good battling 1-1.
Yep, and of the other matches, I think Doncaster equalising against a Stoke City side that have been going really well. Mark Hughes, I'm absolutely gobsmacked at, as we mentioned week in, week out here, for what he's done with Stoke City and transforming that side. He's not even in the running with anyone for the Manchester United job.
Yeah, exactly. We'll mention that a few times. We think surely he becomes a candidate, but it shows you the what does happen in England. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I've seen it over the years, even when I was down there. At times, the number of shocks you get, you just think the top class team playing against a lower division team, you can't take it for granted. I mean, I think, was it last season Manchester United, Accrington Stanley, I think, was that who beat them 4-0, was it? So you look at that and you're thinking, how can that happen? But it does in England.
Yeah, it happens when you don't play your first team.
Well,
It's
exactly.
as simple as that. The disdain for it at times.
But their reserves should be good enough to beat any team in the lower divisions as well, shouldn't they?
Yeah,
MK Dons it was.
MK Dons,
It's MK Dons, that's right.
Yeah, so again, it's one of those days not to be forgotten by any MK Dons player, because quite simply, if you knock Manchester United out of the cup, it lives with you forever and a day, especially if you've scored the goal. Is there a cup shock this afternoon? You keep it here on STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow. We will bring you all the goals as they hit the back of the net over the course of the afternoon, and we'll continue to chat to these guys about any point that you want to bring to us on social media at Peter and Roughie on Twitter and Facebook.com/Peter and Roughie. Second half getting underway after the break. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday football show. Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo McLeod are with me this afternoon. If you are just snuggled up, which I would hope at this moment you are, with a wee tartan shawl over your knees, just enjoying all of the guys here, keeping you up to date with all the goals that hit the back of the net. We'll also discuss some of the stories in the papers. What is it with you?
I could just see some of the guys watching the show going, I've not got a tartan shawl. No way I'm putting a tartan shawl.
Can I just say to you right now, the Falkirk boys will all be sitting in Will Vaults' house, and there'll be a row of 9 of them, and the midfielders and the strikers, and they'll have a tartan shawl, and they'll have a cup of tea.
Carry out.
I don't think we'll have a wee carry out, or Peter Houston will be round there right now, but nevertheless, they'll be watching and thinking, how is it all going to unfold in the Scottish Cup? I think there's, we've been talking about superstitions as we get ready for the kick-off in the second half. Most of the matches just about to kick off, but a great one here talking about superstitions. Now we've had the tweet from someone mentioning the superstition of Hearts getting into the Scottish Cup final with a 6, and Tony Walker has just sent us another tweet saying very interesting here as well, and this is something that maybe has an edge to it, Murdo. When the year ends in a 0, 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, a 6, a 7 and an 8 and a 9, Celtic win the cup. This is Tony's take on it, so clearly listen,
well, that's it, he's right. He's right. Good on you, Tony. I'm worried about the things now.
Oh dear, Roughie, I don't have you down as a superstitious
But how many times do people go to a football match? They don't go very often, and the team they're going to support lose. Oh, I'm not going back, I'm bad luck for them. And they don't go back to football because they think they're bringing bad luck onto the club.
I mean, I think I can remember another one was the Chinese year of the cockerel. You know how they announce it's going to be the year of something, and it was the year of the cockerel when Spurs won the cup in 1981. It's just one of those things, you know, strange things. If you latch onto that thing, if it does something for you, and it was what we were talking about, Roughie, and I think the Falkirk boys come into that category. We mentioned it. Connie McLaughlin, one of the people we used to work with, is out there, you know, trying to boost the Falkirk guys, the psychology, making people just get that little extra edge. Anything that you can latch onto, if it gives you that little extra percentage to become a better player.
Talk about that.
And then maybe the Annan Athletic boys have had a psychologist. 2-0 up on Hamilton.
That's amazing.
Annan only won the cup in 06 or 16.
Yeah, that's a very good point that you make there, Murdo. So much so that my eyes have glazed over. But 2-0 up, it's a shock. I think that's a major one there, Roughie.
That is the biggest shock this year. But that's what Scottish Cup's all about. These big clubs know when they go into this competition, if they're not up for it on the day or whatever goes against you on the day, you can be in the end of these results. But they've got they have got the rest of the second half to get themselves out of hole, so they really have to dig in.
It's quite funny as I go down all the score lines at the moment, Peter. There's only about 2 that I'll say, that's what I would probably be expected, and that is the fact that Motherwell are winning and Ross County are winning. I think all the other ones, I think every other one you're going, that's quite a surprise that they're not. That's the scoreline at the moment. Airdrie drawn at home with Dundee United, Annan beating Hamilton, Dumbarton beating Queen of South. You know what I mean? So things like that. There's quite a few shock. Livingston 0-0 with Morton. I suppose that's going to be a harder one to decide. But Livingston, Morton were on a good run, but Kilmarnock are winning it against St John's. So there's a few shock scorelines at the moment.
I'm still looking to the Shibury Excelsior because quite simply, Murdo. Billy Mackay's just missed a great opportunity to give Dundee United the lead. The longer it goes on, the more the Airdrie players will be thinking just one chance in that game.
And that's all they need. It's just one chance, and they've got to take it. And United there, and if they lose a goal, I don't think there's a fighting spirit about them to come back into it. So many games recently they've scored the first goal, and then the opposition equalised, and then went on to win the match. And United are sitting there. There's no confidence about them, and the management's talking about Jackie McNamara. They're causing problems off the pitch as well. So I just think this is the time. If United are going to lose a game to a lower league side, this is the day for it.
I was thinking that they brought Muirhead back from Partick Thistle.
Yeah.
He'd been scoring some goals for Partick in the last few games before he couldn't play against Dundee United, obviously, when they played them. He's on the bench today, Peter. Surely at some stage they must be thinking about bringing him back in the team, another striker on there, because they're not scoring, and Muirhead wasn't scoring for him before before he's come back.
Yep. Josh Todd has scored Annan's second goal. And of course, the other point I was going to make to you is our producer has mentioned to us that this year is the year of the monkey, the Chinese year of the monkey. So I don't know if that anybody's got it in their badge or anything, or there's something, a nickname for a team. You never know. Look at Murdo Chimp. I'm trying to think of anybody who's got a link that could get it and latch onto it and help you go on and win the cup. East Fife 1, Berwick Rangers 0 is the latest score there. And I'm looking at the Hamilton one. The reason I'm looking at it, lads, is because, Roughie, we talk about it every week on this programme. There are just points in a season when you start to look and think, what's happening here? And I'm looking at Hamilton Accies. They get the draw against Motherwell, and it was a late show there, to be perfectly honest with you, but it's one win in 12.
It's their fighting ability and being able to come back in games that they're losing, that they're getting credit for. But you're right, people are taking their eye off the stats, and it did look as if they were on free fall there for a wee while. The same happened, I think it was last year. They had a fantastic start and they tumbled down the league, and fortunately it wasn't never tumbled enough to come into the trouble. But they've certainly got the young players. They've got players there, but Hamilton's philosophy is, bringing in young players and selling them on. Yeah. I honestly believe, although it'd be a disappointment for them to get in a division, they would still continue with the philosophy they've got.
Yeah. I don't think that worries them. I don't think if they go down.
I remember the owner. I remember speaking to the owner once, and he says, "Look, we continue to bring on young players. We continue to play free-flowing football. We give new managers a chance. The supporters are backing us 100%." And that's the way the clubs run.
Yeah, Montrose 1, East Stirlingshire 2, Arbroath 2, Elgin City 2. So remember, there are 3 league games on today that we will keep you up to date with as well: the Scottish Cup and the FA Cup in England. And one of our other producers, that's us showing off, kidding you on, we've got 2 producers, said that we just looked it up, and Celtic haven't won the cup in a year that ends in a 6, but they've won it in every other number. So there you have it.
Any cup.
Scottish Cup. Celtic haven't won a cup in a year that ends in a 6, but they've won it with every other number. There's a spooky one.
Yeah. That's amazing.
That's what I call somebody with too much time in their hands and a complete geek. But I absolutely love it. Do you latch onto that? Is 2016
that'll be everywhere?
What's that?
Over the next few days, that'll be everywhere. People will be talking about it. Celtic have never won the Scottish.
No, it wasn't Gordon. No. I kind of threw you there by the complete geek, but it wasn't. It
was another geek.
And I can tell you, Motherwell are making a double substitution. James McFadden and Lionel Ainsworth coming on, and Moult and Johnson going off. So James McFadden, another spell at Motherwell, and I think he's got till the end of the month, before he thinks about heading back to the US.
Well, that's the big thing. He's got to get games at Motherwell. If he's not playing, then I think he'll just go back. But if he was in the side and playing well, then Mark would keep him on. But it's a difficult situation because he's top player.
Mark has actually mentioned that he's fit. You could get a good 20 minutes, 30 minutes out of him in games where he's got the ability to do something always a wee bit out of the ordinary.
Mind you, if you're James McFadden, you're not wanting 20 or 30 minutes just to go on and show off and see if you can do a bit of magic. You want to play week in, week out, and he's made a few bob in the a game, James, so he doesn't need to kind of worry about that side of it. So I think he's just got to worry about playing week in, week out for 90 minutes.
Yeah, I think, and Murdo's hit the nail on the head here, Gordon, because players, there's a desire, we can talk about money till we're blue in the face. Yes, financial security is imperative, but some players eventually get to that point. I'll tell you a player we were talking about earlier, John Baird. He was at Partick Thistle. We were talking to him trackside one day and he was like, I just want to play.
Yeah, well, I think everyone that's got the right attitude is like that. They want to play. I mean, I know for a fact, we was talking about it before, quite funny, Roughie was showing me earlier on, Barcelona leading 2-0, both goals by the man I'm about to talk about, Messi, who was wouldn't even be substituted. Do you know what I mean? He was like, he was said to the coach he didn't even want to be taken off when he was playing. He wanted to start every game and didn't want to be rested and wanted to play. That's a great attitude. Can
I just interrupt you and say Eastleigh 1, Bolton Wanderers 0?
Wow. That's a shocker, isn't it? That's a Neil Lennon will be under pressure with that one, won't he? If that turns out to be the scoreline, I mean, he's not having the best of times at the moment, but to be losing to Eastleigh, I mean, I've never heard of Eastleigh. Never mind.
It's not even a place that we, in the early days, Gordon, would have contemplated going on holiday.
No.
And we really scraped the barrel at times, Murdo. And I can tell you, Scott Fraser, what a chance for United. I mean, he hits the shot, it goes into the ground. You know, one of those ones, Roughie, that sometimes catches the goalkeeper out when the striker hits the ball into the ground and it takes that bounce, deceiving the goalkeeper, but it's inches over the bar.
Yeah, you could see it coming off the AstroTurf, with a greasy surface. You thought it was going to just dip in under, but it just went over the bar.
Now you've got it, Yeah, there you are. He's got it now. Midway through the programme, suddenly the penny has dropped, McFly. He's glued up on it. But it's still no way through for them. And again, Dundee United, there will be a moment in the game, and I have to say I'm amazed. I think there's a breaking point, Murdo. Eastleigh to knock Bolton out of the cup could be breaking point on Neil Lennon. At a club, by the way, £170 million in debt, who might not be able to afford to sack a manager.
See, that's a big problem, Peter, and I think obviously that the league results aren't great either, sitting bottom of the table, but I think they can move anyway. I don't think they can bring any players in. I don't think they can afford to let any players go either because of the size of the squad, but I think he's under pressure now just because of it, and I think the owners at some point I've got to make a change.
I think the players can actually leave Bolton now because
just walk out for nothing.
Yeah, because if they've not been paid over a certain amount of weeks, you're free to walk out your contract. If you've not had your money. So the players that are on a position, I think a few of them will be leaving now because clubs can only sign them in January. I think they'll be losing a few players in January.
Well, we've not really heard the teams today from down south, so maybe one or two players have already left. And if one or two players leave, the atmosphere within the dressing room is terrible.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody's thinking maybe I should be walking out as well.
Well, look for a club, that's for sure.
Ipswich are a goal up on Portsmouth, leading by a goal to nil there. Mike McCarthy's side. Ipswich, one of those great teams with a fantastic history, long associated with Sir Bobby Robson. I remember growing up as a boy, Roughie, the Ipswich side. I mean, you can always tell great sides when you can rhyme off at least 9 of their best side ever.
It's amazing they were so successful even in European football. For such a small club, they were nearly not as obviously if not Forest, but coming from a small club like that, to get the success, but they've just lost a goal.
Short-term success today.
Short answers in this time.
I remember, see that team you're talking about, Peter, that my first season in England, Aston Villa actually won the league. I mean, I think they won it twice this last century. Aston Villa won it twice, and one of them was in 1981. But Ipswich were the best team that season. Everybody appreciated that they should have won it with the players they had with Gates and Murin and Tyson and Mortimer up front, Alan Brazil, Terry Butcher, Osman,
Hunter, Burley, Osman, Butcher, Mick Mills.
We played them in a testimonial game.
Alan Hunter's
testimonial game. And then the floodlights went out.
Half time. Do you know what happened?
What happened? No.
I can tell you exactly
Well,
what
I know
happened.
that the chairman was asked, is this a problem or something? And he says, no, he says, the only problem will be if we run out of dry white wine. That's a problem, not
Oh,
life now.
the Fairmont have scored, guys. We need to tell you about that one.
2-2.
2-2 against
Oh.
Ross County.
Yeah.
What happened?
To be honest with you, I don't want to leave you missing that point, but what happened, and I'm not making this up, you can check it, a Celtic fan needed to go to the toilet, and the generator was the nearest thing. That's all I'm telling you. And the generator fused the lights.
What did he knock the switch over like?
Sorry? But that's what happened. I'm telling you.
Who was that? Was it goalkeeper?
Is that
Cooper in
true?
that? Was it Cooper, the goalkeeper?
Yeah.
He
Yeah,
couldn't stop
that was
the
the one.
guy.
That was the one. He was. Everybody always felt, Peter, he was the weakness in that team.
Is that right?
Yeah. Everyone said that if they'd had, with the players they had, they all said that if they'd got like Shilton or somebody like that,
Dumbarton.
they would have been actually, they'd have won the league.
Yeah, Dumbarton 2, Queen of the South 1. Is that a shock, Murdo, when you consider, Dumbarton having a sticky season, unpredictable at times, Steve Aitken succeeding Ian Murray?
I think that this season they have been down in the bottom end, but they've been fairly comfortable. They've not been under pressure. But against Queen of the South, they've not been at their best either this season. But I think Dumbarton, I was a wee bit concerned after them losing 6 last week to Rangers. And I'm thinking maybe it's going to be a tough one, but I just think just now they're very focused, and to get 2-1 up against Queen of the South, because that would be a great victory for them.
Well, they've lost twice already to Queen of South Dumbarton. I mean, they lost at home 2-0 and they lost away. So it's not a shock as such, but most people would be predicting that Queen of South at worst might have got a draw today.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You know.
Well, the man of the moment will be Gary Fleming. He scored both goals for Dumbarton despite Derek Lyle's equaliser. It's Dumbarton in the lead by 2-1. Could that be considered a shock? Give us your thoughts on your team's performance today, or indeed any of the points we've been discussing in Scottish football over the course of the afternoon, because let's not forget there's a 9-point plan that the Scottish Football Supporters Association have put forward, and there's also video technology. I can tell you Wraith Rovers 0, Hibernian 1, and Darren McGregor, the former Rangers player and St Mirren player, let me go back through his history, has scored the goal, and that's a crucial goal again, and it always, as you pointed out, Roughie, seems to be an edgy game there and very close. And I tell you, Stephen Pearson has scored, picked it up on his right foot and slots it under the goalkeeper. And right foot, and isn't it great in Motherwell, they're still playing rave music in the background when he scores the goal. Fantastic. It's a great era. We never forget classics from club nights.
Is that our holiday? Is that not happening now then? The holiday you promised us for the week?
It's gone. It's
gone.
gone. Which is well, if I could follow it up, and I hate to be biased, you dance at 5-0. There's no way back for Cove.
Can we go to Eastleigh?
I'm actually, we're going to have to get our producer to look up and see where Eastleigh is on the map. I mean, that's a major shock there. But we'll keep you up to date with it. That's for certain. Pearson scoring a rare one with his right foot. I think he scored, if my memory serves me correct, I think he scored a £60 million goal with his right foot, Roughie.
Yeah, he did, to get promotion, and he talked about it on the show. Again, it's a memory that will stick with you forever, you know, and obviously I'm sure your teammates were more than happy as well when they got their bonuses for getting up.
Yep, absolutely. Gordon Smith, Alan Ruff and Murdo MacLeod are with me here in the studio at Peter and Roughie on Twitter and facebook.com/Peter and Roughie if you want to post anything and give us your thoughts on what's been happening in Scottish football and beyond. You can give us any topic whatsoever, anything you'd like to throw your tuppence worth in. Video technology to assist the referees. There's penalty decisions, goals, mistaken identity, red cards, all thrown into the mix. A fifth official will look at this technology in the Scottish Cup next season and the English FA Cup. And when you consider, Murdo, the money that's on offer in the Barclays Premier League, I don't think it'll be too long before they say it right. We've got the goal line technology, let's plough all the spare cash into making sure that this is in the Premier League in England next season as well.
Yeah, I think they've got to go down that line. Obviously, the other thing I was thinking about was offside. because it's sometimes you watch the offside, and if he's watching in television, he can see it. There's so many times that an offside goal, and I think they've got to maybe add that. And I think most things that happen within the 18-yard box, Peter, that's all got to be looked at.
Yeah, Roughie, it looks as if it's comfortable now for Hibernian, because it's Wraith Rovers 0, Hibernian 2.
Yeah, it's always good to get that second goal. So 1-0. It would always these games are always very, very tight, and I'm sure the Hibs will be able to relax a wee bit more, and they might be believing that this could be the year. You know, that looks like a convincing win there. And looking at all the other scores, there are going to be possibly some bigger teams getting knocked out. So you never know.
Yep. Of course, one of the big teams will have to go later on, Hearts or Aberdeen. We'll keep you up to date with the early first half hour of that match. But Dominique Malonga scoring for Hibernian. He's one of those players that at times you think, genius, and then at times you think, is he in the game?
Yeah, he is. If you were a scout who watched him, there's a few players like that. If you watched him on certain days, you would think he's a top class player, he's good, but then other days he doesn't do it. I always felt Steve was like that at Dundee United a bit. There's times you could watch him and you would say he's top class, and maybe Celtic saw that side of him and decided to sign him, but he was inconsistent with it, and that's what stopped him being at his best. So I think Malonga's a bit the same.
Yep. I can tell you that Eastleigh, Murdo, is in Hampshire. Which is near Southampton.
Is that down Southampton way?
Yeah, it is. It's down there. It's
great news.
Long travel.
It is a long travel for people from Lanarkshire, so we won't be going there.
A long way back from Bolton as well.
It's a long way back now.
Hamilton's
absolutely.
back into it. Hamilton.
I can tell you, Bolton. Hamilton, sorry. Annan 2, Hamilton 1. I don't know why I said Bolton there. Annan 2, Hamilton 1. The fight back is on, Murdo.
Yeah, well, that's what they've looked at the last couple of games. You know, Inverness at home, they were trailing, they get back into level terms in the 90th minute, lost a late goal, and then against Motherwell last week as well, they were trailing 2-1, then got themselves back to 2-2.
Yep, if there's a goal there in that match, keep it right here to STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow. We will almost certainly keep you up to date with it. What about that, Alan Rough? Livingston 0, Morton 1.
Yeah, it's been a good season for Jim Duffy. If they could get a wee cup run, it'd be very good for them. They're doing well in the league. Yeah, but there's an even belter coming in now.
Annan just gone 3-1 up.
Yeah, any suggestion that there could have been a fight back there is gone. 3-1 for Annan Murdo. What about that?
Goodness me, great reaction. Because obviously normally when the big team scores against the smaller club, they just sit in, they just sit back. So obviously Annan's just got out and straight into the opposition half. And 3-1.
Well, I think Martin Canning must look at the back line. I mean, that is criminal. It happens all the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, obviously the last game they're losing a few to Motherwell and they got back in it. So you wouldn't write them off yet. I mean, there's still 20 odd minutes to go, but that must be annoying to Martin Canning to get back in the game. As Murdo says, the one thing that generally happens when you're 2-0 down and you score, it gives you a big fight back time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You think we can do something here, and then you come back. To lose a goal so quick as that is obviously a slackness there, and that puts them under severe pressure now. It's going to be hard to pull back another 2 goals.
Absolutely. Greg Docherty had got one back for Hamilton, but there Omar pops up 60 seconds later to give Annan a 3-1 advantage, and this of course was after Matt Flynn and Josh Todd had scored the other 2 goals for Annan. It's just a huge scoreline there. Here's the latest from the Scottish Cup. If you're wondering what's happening, Linlithgow Rose 4-4 was 3-3 the earlier kickoff. AIRDRIEONIANS 0, Dundee United 0. I still am waiting with bated breath and what's going to be happening there at that match. It could be just next goal the winner. Annan 3, Hamilton 1, Dumbarton 2, Queen of the South 1, Dunfermline 2, Ross County 2, Livingston 0, Morton 1, Motherwell 5, Cove Rangers 0, Wraith Rovers 0, Hibernian 2, St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1, and Stirling Albion 0, Inverness Cally Thistle 0. And Hearts against Aberdeen is the 5:30 kick-off there, and it's Rangers Cowdenbeath and Stranraer against Celtic. Give us your thoughts on Rangers, and know, the criticism that's come their way, Gordon, over their handling of Mike Crooks and of course Josh Windass, the signings from Accrington Stanley on a pre-contract.
Yeah, I don't know why the criticism should be there. I mean, you're perfectly entitled to sign players on a pre-contract and then just wait for the end of the season, and then they'll have to pay compensation. What I can stand there complaining about is the fact that across border compensation won't be as much as they would have received in England. But nevertheless, I think Rangers have made them a bid now for both players, Peter. So they've actually said, here's a fee, we'll pay you right now if you let both players go. If not, we'll just get their contracts when their contracts are finished. So it's normal business. I don't know why. I know they're not happy about it, but you can't complain when it's the normal way of doing things.
I'll tell you right now, Cummins and Sutton are coming on for St Johnstone to replace Kane and McLean. That tells you everything about the way Tommy Wright's thinking about this, because we had Chris Miller in on yesterday's programme, Murdo, and suddenly we're looking at the Scottish Cup holders from 2014, thinking we could go back there again. They're hanging on by a thread.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. No, that they've got to get forward. They've got to go and retain the tournament, the trophy. So it's a difficult one for them, but they've just got to chase after it.
Yeah,
just throw caution to the wind now.
Yeah, absolutely. When you think of the last couple of years, I think the romance of the Scottish Cup has been about clubs actually out with Celtic and Rangers winning the tournament, and I think it's rekindled fans coming back to the game, Roughie, because you want a chance to win, and St Johnstone did it, Inverness did it last year.
Yeah, I think the disappointing thing about the whole thing, Peter, is that these fans that they get for the finals don't carry on to the season, to the league. I think when St Johnstone and Inverness got to the final, they took about, just say for talking about 15,000 fans, and yet their crowds are still 3,000 week on, week out. That's the tragedy about it. If they could keep a hold of these supporters, I'm sure that they'd be in a lot better state.
Yeah, there's been a classic, Peter. I mean, some teams have even taken like 30,000 fans to a cup final and won the cup. And start of the next season, the first crowd of the season, the home crowd was like 5,000 or 6,000. You know what I mean? You're thinking, where have all these other people gone? Do they not feel this kind of allegiance towards the team because they've seen them win the cup? They've been there as a supporter, but they don't go.
But it turns out it's all families, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, it's not just a guy who goes and watches the team. It's the wife, it's all the kids that don't go to the game.
Yes.
But they all want to go and see, and history-making day for them.
Yeah, definitely. I know.
Southampton 1, Crystal Palace 2. Wilfried Zaha, again, one of those players that didn't work out at Manchester United, decided to go back to Palace, and certainly one of those players that I think is catching the eye once again under Alan Pardew. John Sutton's almost made an immediate impact for St Johnstone. Wotherspoon's cross for him just couldn't quite direct it on goal. Annan 4, Hamilton 1. It's not a cup shock now. It's an embarrassment, Gordon Smith.
That is totally an embarrassment. I mean, that is going to be hard for them to deal with, to go down to a team, albeit Annan, very little track record at the highest level in the game. Now they're playing in the bottom tier of Scottish football. They're leading the league, to be fair, but Hamilton Accies are a team who've only just recently dropped out the top 6 teams in Scotland. They're on a bad run, it has to be said, but that's embarrassing.
I think when you look at it in the bigger picture, I hate to say this sort of thing, Roughie, but the managers are now under pressure.
Yeah, these are the kind of results that make owners of clubs make decisions, but I think he's very, very fortunate he's at Hamilton Accies. Hamilton Accies seem to have a loyalty towards their managers and their players. We spoke about it earlier. Their philosophy in the club is good, and they get dividends from that just with the money they bring in for the players. So I think Martin Cannon might be safe there. I think if there was any decisions, it would be on his head. It would be him that would say, look, it's not working for me. The best thing for the club is to get somebody else, but I can't see Hamilton actually firing him or sacking him.
Yeah, well, they're under pressure now. 4-1 down. Omar with his second. West Brom 1, Bristol City 0 in the cup as well down south, right across the country, north and south of the border. Fans embracing the action in the Scottish Cup. It's do or die. It's trying to get a replay in some instances, and with St Johnstone right now, I think they'd breathe a huge sigh of relief, Murdo, if they could find a goal from anywhere.
Anything at all. No, you get to the stage, you'll throw people up front, even your centre halves will go up front at some point, Peter, because and St Johnstone know what it's like to go on a run all the way through a tournament, get to Hampden, win the cup, the celebrations after it. It's fantastic for the team, fantastic for the city, fantastic for everyone involved in it. And to give it away so early on, no, you're just back starting to play in it and you're getting knocked out.
The thing about it is, Peter, you know, they would actually probably settle now, St Johnstone, if they got a goal to get a replay, because they're actually been better away from home this season. I mean, they were on a great run before. Remember that was it 5 or 6 away wins in a row. Right. So I think that they would be comfortable to go to Kilmarnock if they got a draw today. So, but it's still dodgy. They've got 20 minutes or 15 minutes now virtually to get a goal back.
Yep, absolutely. And if there is a shock on the cards, we will deliver it to you here on the programme at Peter and Roughie. And also the other area you can interact with us is facebook.com/Peter and Roughie as well. Arsenal 2, Sunderland 1, Roughie, and the Gunners still with high hopes of the double.
Yep, I think if you're an Arsenal supporter, you'll be saying to yourself, this could be the year, the success that they've been waiting on. Arsene Wenger has always been criticised for his lack of cup wins, but I heard him on the radio, the TV the other night there. He has got actually a reasonable over the time that he's been there. But not recently, so this will be a year they'd hope maybe the league and a cup.
Yeah, Ferguson's just made a fantastic save for Airdrie to deny Scott Fraser of Dundee United. So again, when I think of some great goalkeeping performances in cup games that can somehow keep your side with that hope, that belief, Murdo, that they can do it. Why are you smiling? Have you thought of a goalkeeper?
No, but you said that you're thinking about some great heroics from goalkeepers. I thought you were going to mention Alan there.
Yeah.
But no.
I have a good memory. I don't have a great memory. Will you? Well, I'm giving you the platform he's looking at.
No,
I had a game where you thought in the cup you were absolutely unbelievable. I mean, how many saves did you have to make in the League Cup in 71?
The second half, I think Celtic were all over us. I remember making up maybe 10, 15 saves in that second half. No, there was a crucial save at 4-1. I think if Celtic had got a second, they were more than capable of getting another 2. So, you know, it was one of these days that everyone went for us in the second half.
But it takes so many goalkeepers to do things like that, have a great game, Peter, and just sometimes you look at some of the saves and say, how did he manage to get there? Yeah. But that's what gets sides through to the cup final, and that's what wins the cup for some clubs.
An English Cup one, I'm not going to say the two, I know one of the teams, but I'm not going to say which one it was. A save in particular won the cup for this side. It was the boy Montgomery.
Sunderland.
Jim Montgomery.
Again, was it Leeds United?
Yes.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing that goalkeepers win the cups. Saves like that.
Gary Bailey had a great save as well, but I'm not really getting into detail on that one.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have to tell you, just looking at it, it's the Hearts side starting against Aberdeen. Alexander, Patterson, Ozturk, Augustine, Rossi, Nicholson, Payardo, Jim, Blabbin, Riley and So. Gavin Riley's actually forced himself into a regular starting slot there.
He has, yeah. I mean, he's obviously come across well because he's leaving out good other players who were more highly considered, I would say, in the early part of the season. But Riley's now in there and getting a regular game.
Yep, that's the Hearts side. We'll bring you the Aberdeen side fairly shortly for that one. It's a 5:30 kick-off, incidentally, Hearts against Aberdeen, and it's one of those classic rip snorters that I'm really looking forward to because crowd baying for blood. I'm building it up, Murdo. I don't know how much more I can do on it. You know, Aberdeen down there, seen as the enemy. The two of them are going for either second and third, or dare I say it, just to try and make it sound interesting. Could be pushing Celtic for the title. But I think realistically they'll definitely feel as if they've got a cup win in them.
Oh, without a doubt. Both of them starting the game, Peter, will fancy their chances to go all the way to the cup final. Aberdeen will bring down a massive support. Tynecastle will be jam-packed tonight. So it's going to be a great game to watch.
Yep, absolutely. And right now, I think a lot of people on Twitter wondering if it's a wind-up, the latest score, Annan 4, Hamilton 1. It is not a wind-up, it is a reality, Gordon Smith.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's as I say, if you're looking at the fixtures today and you're saying shock, that is it. That is a shock, I think. I couldn't see Hamilton Accies losing this game. I thought maybe at best Annan would be a draw at home, but I've got to give them credit. They probably won't get as much credit as deserve because it will mainly be about Hamilton Accies' failure, how bad Hamilton have been. But I mean, we saw a situation. Was it Motherwell lost to Albion Rovers? Was it? Was that last season or the season before when they lost?
A couple of years ago.
Yeah, and that was a bit of a shock at that time as well. But this is definitely it falls into that category. But as I say, all credit to Annan, but I mean, Hamilton, it's an embarrassing scoreline at the moment.
Yep, it is indeed. And also Arsenal coasting now 3-1 up against Sunderland. And I can mention a certain pundit who comes on this programme who suggested Arsenal would win the league, and we all laughed. Ha ha ha, don't be silly, Joe Miller. Yeah. Arsenal can't win the league. And he reminded me last night of it.
Did
Arsenal,
he?
top of the league.
He did say, to be fair, he was right. He did say Arsenal were in a real chance. Most of us said we still fancied Chelsea or Man City.
Let me tell you, Blair Spittle has scored for Dundee United, and all the Tangerine fans are now at this moment spilling onto the park to celebrate. Just basically nothing really malicious in it. Just it's been that long since they've actually scored a goal that they could celebrate, Murdo, and they've got that goal.
Hearing the news as if they've won the cup, as if they've won a game.
Exactly.
No, I saw him
fantastic.
He scored a free kick last week. It was a terrific
against United,
wasn't it?
Against Dundee.
Yeah, top corner as well. So this is obviously a talent he's got. If he can do it 2 weeks in a row, then it's a real skill. But that is a big boost for Dundee United without doubt.
I mean, that's massive, Roughie, for United, because I genuinely, I've just actually now, I'm hearing as well, such is their delight that there is actually a Dundee United fan doing press-ups at the side of the field celebrating. Now,
well,
I mean,
that is a sign when you lose it.
Yeah.
You start doing
it might be Stephen Thompson, we haven't heard yet.
Well, I mean, it's a shock. That'll be front page news tomorrow. Dundonian in health kick.
Dundonian can do press-up.
It's one of those. I'm joking. United are in front. That's the key point, Murdo.
Yeah, without a doubt. Massive, absolutely massive. Because obviously the nerves will be there, the fans will be worried, coaching staff will be worried, but now that they've got themselves in front, now they'll be even more worried, because do they defend it, or do they try and go and get a second goal? Airdrie now will just throw caution to the wind and just get forward, put them under pressure, and if it turns around, if it stays like this, it's a great result for United, but if Airdrie can manage to come back into it, it's a sore point for them.
Right, let me give you the team for Aberdeen against Hearts today at Tynecastle. It's Ward, Logan, Shinnie, Considine, Taylor, Reynolds, McLean, Flood, Rooney, McGinn and Hayes. That is what I would consider, Aberdeen's strongest side.
Yeah, they've all got the big players in there, the guys that make them tick, Hayes, McGinn and Rooney. You know, they would be the three danger men for me. They're usually pretty solid at the back, but I don't think there'll be much between these two sides. I think it'll be on the day and who produces the goods, but I think Aberdeen have got more people in there to come up with a big time game.
Yep, if you have just joined us on the Saturday football show here until 6 o'clock on STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow, tell your friends about it, join in with us and interact as well. It's the modern day football programme for you with a real Scottish slant on it, keeping you up to date with all the goals as they hit the back of the net. And the big shock is Annan 4-1 up on Hamilton Accies at the moment. It was a shock to start with. Now it's turning into an embarrassing afternoon for Accies. They've had their troubles in the Premier League in Scotland. them. But right now, to go 4-1 behind to Annan Athletic, and no disrespect, but a lower division side like that, you would expect Hamilton Accies to be into the next round, Murdo, but they're out of it unless there's something dramatic happens in the next 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah, it need to be a magical 7 minutes to get back into the game. But and it's not as if it's just it's been from early on. Annan got himself in front and just kept on pushing forward. Hamilton get back into the game and then 3-1, 4-1, and it is an embarrassment for a side. And it's the Hamilton manager's been talking about the way they've come back in the last couple of games, that their attitude's been great, and obviously the attitude today hasn't been great. And that's the reason they're sitting just now at 4-1 down.
Yep. Sean Davenport has sent us a tweet and said, definitely an embarrassment, but he said, to be fair, I've watched Annan a few times this season and they have a really good squad with excellent players, and it's a good point. We're not in any way taking anything away from Annan Athletic, but Hamilton Accies players man for man should be good enough to see them off.
Yeah, we keep talking about on the show, when you're sitting top of the league, doesn't matter what league you're in, there's a confidence, there's a buzz. The training at Annan this week would have been great. Everybody had been looking forward to it, and to go into the game and obviously get an early goal gives you the confidence, and everything's went their way, and that's what happens when you're up the top of the league and the confidence is high.
You think back to the last round, Annan, they scraped a draw against Inverurie Locos. The 4 each game, remember they were 4 each with Inverurie. They just got a late goal, I think they were losing 4-3 I think to come back, and then they won 1-0 in the return game. So they beat Inverurie Locos 1-0 and they're beating a Premier League side 4-1. It's more to do with the Premier League side obviously embarrassing today than it's about how good Annan are. They've obviously done well today, but there's something been wrong with Hamilton Accies for sure.
Montrose are 3-2 up on East Stirlingshire, so in the League 2 matches that are taking place today, it looks as if they are good enough for the win there, unless there's a wee bit of drama as well. And of course, as Gordon mentioned there, that's one team that I really wouldn't like to start a sing-song about. Inverurie Locos, give us an eye, and eventually midway through it you just think, I just can't be bothered with that, Murdo.
Back to the start.
Just get on with the game.
The game I'm looking at just now is Stirling Albion against Inverness. Still nothing each. I'm a wee bit surprised at that, the holders.
Total shock.
Yep, I mean, Inverness Cally Thistle are trying to get a hold of Anthony Stokes. If anything, the relationship between manager and player at Hibs and Falkirk, Roughie, might sway it in his favour. I still think, and I've mentioned to you, and I think I might get shot down in flames with it. Chris Miller suggested that maybe a loan move for Anthony Stokes down south. I think Alan Stubbs would be looking at rabbit out of hat getting Anthony Stokes, but do you think maybe Celtic, John Collins hinted that Inverness might be the best place
I think John Collins is hinting because him and Yogi are best pals, and that's where that story's come from. I never saw he's worked under him before, but I think if Anthony Stokes will be actively looking at teams who are interested, and I just my opinion, I think if it's an English club, then he'll be more high profile down there if he wants to get back into the Republic side. But the most important thing for him, he needs to go to a team that he's playing. He's got to be guaranteed to be a starter. He can't go down to a club or go to a club where he's sitting on the bench. So he needs to be a team that he knows he's going to be guaranteed week in, week out, up until the end of the season. I'm a choice here.
Especially if he's sacrificing the money. I mean, if he's going to Inverness, it would be a money sacrifice. The only reason I think that you could do that is a bit like McGeady coming up to Celtic, Peter. A case of saying, I'm going to take a sacrifice money-wise for a few months in order to play my way into the squad for Ireland's European Championships. That's the only thing I could think Stokes would be the same, would take a hit only from the short term in order to see whether he can achieve that.
Where is he going to go down south other than bottom end of the Championship, League One?
Peter, just what Alan said there, he's got to get back to scoring goals. And once he get back to scoring goals, he's maybe got to go down the tables a wee bit, because maybe it's easier for him, because he goes to a side or a league that's very competitive. He might not score enough goals to get back into the squad.
Here's a shock for us. West Brom 1, Bristol City 2. Agard with the goal for Bristol City. That could be another cup scalp of note.
Definitely, that is one, because you're looking at, say, Premiership, a team West Brom who are hard to play against, get a lot of credit for how they play, and they're losing at home to a Championship team, not even one of the top Championship teams. So that's another one that's, as I say, it goes under the old the cup surprises. That certainly would be if Bristol City win that one.
Yep, we were looking at Birmingham thinking, can they take the scalp of a Premier League side in England? It doesn't look like it, because Eddie Howe's side have come back. It's Birmingham City 1, Bournemouth 2 in the FA Cup down south. Up here in Scotland, Annan will undoubtedly occupy the back pages of the newspapers tomorrow morning. 4-1 in front against Hamilton Accies. Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo MacLeod are here with me. We'll be discussing video technology, we'll be discussing the 9-point plan from supporters groups, we'll be looking at Celtic and Rangers in the Scottish Cup as well. Ipswich 1, Portsmouth 2. They've managed to turn it around. It's hard to believe, but Portsmouth are former FA Cup winners. Murdo MacLeod, it cost them a few $100 million and almost the entire living memory of the club as well.
Yeah, it's incredible, isn't it? Over all the years when you watch them come all the way through, you thought, fantastic, they've won the cup, and now they're struggling financially. So it's a good result for them just now.
Yep, absolutely. We're into the final minutes here, and I think the agony will be at Galabank for Martin Canning's side. They'll just want to get off the park, and then the flack will gather pace, Roughie.
Yeah, I think the players' heads will be down now, and you need somebody to lift them. They've got a big season still to play for. You can't just let one game get on top of you, but it will be a sore one, and it just remains to be seen whether they can dig themselves out of it. Well, that slide will continue.
Well, the other thing is Brian Lang has just sent us a tweet and said that Hibs can only loan 2 players from the same club. They already have Henderson and McGeoch, but McGeoch was actually bought.
He bought them
by Hibernian. So I think Brian, they might still be able to get somebody of Anthony Stokes' stature. I think Alan Stubbs, the only reason I'm suggesting it could be on the go, and I understand the Collins and John Yogi Hughes relationship, and of course John Yogi Hughes' relationship with Anthony Stokes would make perfect sense. Alan Stubbs alluded to the fact that he was going to try and pull a rabbit out of the hat to get someone to give them that extra push, because there's no doubt Rangers and Hibs in this window, everybody will be looking to see, is there a signing that can give one of them not only a real confidence boost but the edge on the park?
Well, Stokes getting back to his best would be a great asset to Hibs. He would score goals for them, and a lot of goals he would score, but would that help him get into an international squad if he drops down a league?
Well, let me ask you this. Do you really honestly think that Anthony Stokes is going to get into the Republic of Ireland international side? I'm being brutal with you on this.
No, I don't think so, because he's not been playing any football.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. But if he's trying to get back into, if that's his target, then he's got to think about where can I score goals. He could go to Hibs and score a lot of goals, but he's dropping down a league, Peter, so I don't think the manager will be looking at it and thinking, oh, it's not competitive enough, he's not playing at a high enough level, so you're not going to get no chance getting in the squad. So I think he's got to speak to the manager. If I get a chance and then speak, then he's got to go down to England.
Yeah, he maybe needs, what I think he would maybe need is be advice to say, has he got a chance? Because what he would say is, if he's told he's got a chance of getting in, provided he's playing at a top level and playing regularly and doing well, then he's got a chance. I mean, you would need to maybe know that so he can make a decision on it, Peter, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's full time at Fir Park. Let's go there now, Laura Brannan.
Finished here at Fir Park, Motherwell 5, Cove Rangers 0. All a formality for the home side here. It took just 1 minute for Louis Malk to put the home side ahead. He headed home at the back post, and just 5 minutes after that, Scott McDonald doubled their advantage, finishing off a 1-2 with Stephen Pearson. Half an hour later, Marvin Johnson added a third one, pouncing on a poor clearance, firing in off the bar, and it was Stephen Pearson who made it 4 just before half time. That man again popped up not long after the break. It was 62 minutes when Pearson sent a right-footed shot low below Mackenzie, and it really was game over after that. In saying that, it was game over after 1 minute. It was Motherwell dominated from start until finish. Cove Rangers, as much as they were clearly not the better side here today, they did have their chances at the other end, and right on 19 minutes, Hamill had to clear off the line after Nicol was chipped by Connor Ripley was chipped by Nicol. So close, but yet so far for Cove Rangers. It finishes here at Fir Park. Motherwell 5, Cove Rangers 0.
So Motherwell are into the next round of the Scottish Cup, as are Hibs, with a 2-0 win today against Wraith Rovers at Starks Park. And I can tell you, it's Eastleigh 1, Bolton 1. Talk about a huge sigh of relief. And the contrast, when you consider Neil Lennon in charge of a side that only, 3 years ago were beating Barcelona by 2-1, and now how times have changed, Roughie.
Yeah, he made a big decision, and obviously for the reasons that he would be only want to tell us why he left Celtic. And he's went down to a club who I don't think he would have thought they were in that desperate position that they're in now when he went there. And you have to say, that if there wasn't to be any success there at Bolton, what kind of club would he get after that? And I know he's got a CV with Celtic, but everybody would remember the Bolton scenario, and it's ironic, that he could have stayed at Celtic and maybe he knew what was going to happen, maybe he knew what the philosophy at Celtic was going to be, and maybe he just didn't want to be part of it.
Yep, I can tell you, Darren Pratley will not be caring about his surname. He scored the equaliser for Bolton to help out Neil Lennon's FA Cup predicament. St Johnstone are down to 10 men. They've used all their substitutes, and right now they're throwing everything into the kitchen sink at Kilmarnock, trying desperately, Murdo, to get the equaliser, but former cup winners will be heading out as Hamilton Accies, I can tell you, are out of the Scottish Cup, beaten 4-1 by Annan Athletic, and it is just a sensational scoreline. All the focus will be on Jim Chapman's side and what they've done today, and then I think it'll switch quickly to what's happening at Hamilton Accies.
I think so, you're right. It'll be, it's hard to take it away from the team. You have to say a fantastic scoreline when a team from a low division, and we're talking about the bottom tier of Scottish football, League 2, 4th level, beating a team, Hamilton Accies, who, as I say, until recently were top 6, and they've dropped down a bit, but to win 4-1 at home, there's two sides to it. One is Annan deserve a lot of credit, but you've got to look at what Hamilton have done today in terms of what their performance must have been. It must have been terrible and embarrassing to go down there and lose 4-1.
I have to tell you, it's unbelievable. St Johnstone have had 3 strikes in the space of seconds, and Kilmarnock are just throwing bodies in front of it, probably looking at some fans as well, Murdo, just to try and throw them in front of it as well to make sure the ball doesn't go into the back of the net. But Jamie McDonald has made 2 huge saves, and they still lead by 1-0. And I can tell you, Morton are through. They've managed to defeat Livingston.
Yeah, 1-0. But Kilmarnock just hanging on there, and this could change their whole season, Peter. I said to you earlier on, the 2 or 3 last games they've played really well, but today to go up to St Johnstone, if they knock them out, then I think this would kick-start their whole season again.
Yeah, and really when you look at the situation in the Premiership, we're still trying to guess who's going to be in the playoff, because most people are looking at Dundee United as goners.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're looking at this scenario there, but there's 2 teams that are down near the bottom together, just above Dundee United, are Hamilton and Kilmarnock, and yet totally contrasting results from today.
Yeah, let's go to the Shibery full time there. Airdrie against Dundee United. Derek Clark.
Yeah, full time here at New Broomfield. It's finished. Airdrie 0, Dundee United 1. A Blair Spittle stunner spares United's blushes and records the Tangerines' first win in 10 games. It took United until the 79th minute to get the breakthrough, and what a goal it was. Spittle, United's most dangerous player throughout the game, curled a sublime free kick into the top corner that set United fans wild. So wild, in fact, a number of them spilled onto the pitch, and one was even doing press-ups before he was ushered back into the stand. It was hard on Airdrie, who worked their socks off, but they just couldn't test the United keeper Kawashima. It wasn't pretty, but it's a win for the Tangerines, and who knows, it may just act as a springboard for the remainder of the season. It's finished here at New Broomfield. Airdrie 0, United 1.
I can tell you that Dundee United will be happy, and so will Kilmarnock, because former cup holders Kilmarnock have put the 2014 Scottish Cup champions out of the tournament. St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1, and that is a full time. It's Dunfermline 2, Ross County 2, which means that Alan Johnson, his side, will get a replay up at Dingwall. That's just some of the scores coming in. The full times will be discussed with Alan, Murdo and Gordon next. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. The main headline: Annan Athletic have knocked Hamilton Accies out of the Scottish Cup, winning by 4-1. A sensational result for Jim Chapman's side. Congratulations to them, but worrying times for Martin Canning at Hamilton Academicals. Let's have a look at the full-time scores across the country. St Mirren 1, Partick Thistle 2 from last night. Alan Archibald's side go through into the last 16. Today, the early kick-off, it was Linlithgow Rose 3, 4 for 3. Linlithgow were down to 10 men and 3-1 down before the fight back. Airdrionians 0, Dundee United 1. Blair Spittle with a sensational strike to win it for Mixu Patalainen's team. Annan Athletic 4, Hamilton Accies 1. Dumbarton 2, Queen of the South 1, Dunfermline 2, Ross County 2, Livingston 0, Morton 1, Motherwell 5, Cove Rangers 0, Wraith Rovers 0, Hibernian 2, St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1, and Stirling Albion 0, Inverness Cali Thistle 0. Hearts against Aberdeen will kick off in the next half hour, and Rangers against Cowdenbeath and Stranraer against Celtic takes place tomorrow in the Scottish Cup. Let's sing the praises first of all, Roughie, of Annan Athletic.
Yeah, it's amazing. It'd be good for the town as well. Everybody will get a spin-off from it. The players will certainly be absolutely buzzing, and that could be the kickstart for them to get the promotion that they want. They've done everything that's been asked of them in the division, and I hope, I mean, it'll just light up the whole place. The training will be great, you know, and then you'll get the spin-off that goes with it. And all credit to them; they deserve everything to beat a Premier side.
Yep, so a good result there, and I think also when you look at the scorelines from this afternoon, Murdo, your old side Dumbarton is a good score, 2-1.
Yeah, really solid. Queen and South been better, winning against Dumbarton twice, home and away already in the league this year, but Dumbarton got beat 6-0 last week by Rangers, but this week to stand up and beat Queen and South 2-1, and obviously Dumbarton will just be hoping for the next round to get a draw, either get a draw that they can, maybe a game that they could win, or maybe get one of the bigger clubs and fill a stadium.
Yep, absolutely. Good result there for them. And of the other scorelines, I think Dunfermline, Gordon Smith will be more than happy with a replay heading up to Ross County.
Oh, definitely. I mean, that's a decent scoreline. They've got another game to play, obviously, but they've fought them well. And another factor we need to say, Peter, is that, you know, you're looking at those two teams from the bottom tier in Scottish football today, and they both had games against Premier League opposition. One of them was won, Annan won, and also in the other game was a draw that Stirling Albion managed to get a draw with Inverness.
Yeah.
So playing against Premier League opposition, and yet they're still in the cup.
Yep. Motherwell, former Scottish Cup winners, are still there, convincing 5-0 win over Cove Rangers, and also Hibs, former Scottish Cup winners, are in the next round because they, steady Murdo, they are through after a 2-0 win at Wraith Rovers. Could it be the year for Hibernian to finally win the Scottish Cup? Well, they're in the next round, and we'll bring you all the reaction coming up after this break. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. Every Saturday from 2 o'clock on STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow. Join us if you can. Our pundits today, Alan Rough, Gordon Smith and Murdo MacLeod. And delighted to have their company over the course of the 4 hours. Scottish Cup takes centre stage today. There's also the English FA Cup as well. Manchester City were comfortable winners at Norwich by 3-0. Looking at some of the scorelines there, I think Bolton manager Neil Lennon will certainly be breathing a sigh of relief. It was a late show. Pratley getting the equaliser for Bolton. Eastleigh from down in the Hampshire area, not too far away from Southampton, actually were thinking about a major cup shock, but Bolton fought back to get that late equaliser. 1-1 is how it finished. Elsewhere, Wycombe and Aston Villa shared the spoils, 1-1, so Wycombe will get a replay at Villa Park. Arsenal, no problems with Sunderland. They were 3-1 winners. We'll be looking at the FA Cup in England in detail a little later on in the programme. We'll be hearing from Mixu Patalainen's players, and of course getting the reaction from the Dundee United manager to that win. Blair Spittle scoring with a cracker to send AIRDRIEONIANS out of the cup. It looked as if for long spells in that game there could be a shock on the cards. The 2014 Scottish Cup winners, St Johnstone, they are out of the tournament. Craig Slater's goal for Kilmarnock, the difference between the two sides. And the Scottish Cup winners of 1997 are into the next round, as are Partick Thistle from last night. It's Hearts against Aberdeen at Tynecastle. The atmosphere building. It will be rocking by the time the referee gets things underway. And let me tell you, the Hearts side: Alexander, Patterson, Ozturk, Augustine, Rossi, Boabin, Jim, Payardo, Nicholson, Riley and So. And the substitutes: Hamilton, Oshaniwa, McGee, King, Buchanan, Juanma and Zanata. So they've got options on the bench, Roughie, if they need them.
Yeah, they certainly have, and your manager's hoping that your best players can stay on the park, but certainly there's nothing better if something's not going right, if you turn around and you see somebody who can make an effect of the game, and certainly that's what they'll be hoping. And
the Aberdeen side to start against Hearts: Ward, Logan, Shinnie, Considine, Taylor, Reynolds, McLean, Flood, Rooney and McGinn and Johnny Hayes. That for me is the strongest side. Their substitutes: Brown, Smith, Robson, Pollitt, Goodwillie, Quinn and Story. Man for man, who has the better side?
I think that it's very close between the two, but I think that, in my opinion, they have more flair, Aberdeen, than Hearts have. I think that if they get certain players on their game, Hearts will find it very hard to cope with them. And I'm particularly talking about McGinn and Hayes, and probably McLean coming through from midfield as well, Peter.
Murdo?
Yeah, I think Aberdeen, stronger squad, even when you look at their bench. Hearts are very strong, but they're at home and they make it difficult. I think Hearts will make it difficult, but Aberdeen, they've just got that bit of flair, but they've got to play. They've got to play up to a good standard. If they don't fancy it today, then Hearts can come out winners. But I just think this Aberdeen squad is just very strong.
Yep, 6 points the difference between the two sides in the league, but what will be the difference? Over 90 minutes of knockout football in the Scottish Cup. We'll keep our eye on that game and get more reaction from the Cup next. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. Gordon Smith, Alan Rough, Murdo McLeod, alongside me, Peter Martin. The story of the day belongs undoubtedly to a club with a 74-year history, but it's only since 2008 they've been in the senior ranks. Annan Athletic, a 4-1 win against Hamilton Accies. It's one of those days where Jim Chapman and his young boys will be still probably celebrating in that dressing room, just itching to go out. It's one of those days when you just itch to go out there and chat to every journalist you can on it. Flynn, Todd and Omar with a double in this game, and it's one of those days for Hamilton Accies players, Murdo, just to go into a darkened room and not come out till Monday.
Yeah, it's been a strange one for the Hamilton players today, because going down there it was a release from the way they've been playing in the SPFL, and to be playing in the Scottish Cup, to get down to Annan, a team that's 2 leagues below you, you're thinking, well, just a good performance, good attitude, and then get through to the next round. But obviously it's went completely the opposite. To lose 4-1 to a side 2 leagues below you is just horrendous for them. And after the last couple of games, I just felt there was a wee bit of spirit about them, and they didn't seem to have any spirit at all today.
Yep, and again, we've been discussing it all afternoon. It is an embarrassing result, Gordon Smith, but because of the structure of Hamilton Accies, you know, we even in the studio were questioning whether there's a breaking point here in this.
Yeah, that is what we were talking about, because we're thinking that, you know, we saw what happened last year. Martin Canning came in when they were a top side at the time, and the results were very, very poor. They started this season all quite well too, though. You have to say they were a bit of a recovery there, got themselves in the top 6, but in recent weeks they've been slipping back the way. They've been losing a few games, albeit they've a bit of fight in them, as Murdo said. They had that against Motherwell when they got the draw, but in the main the results have been pretty poor. They've had 1 win, I think, was it last 12 games, 1 victory, and as I say, that's 3 leagues below them they're playing today. They're playing against the bottom tier, albeit everybody might say, oh, Annan are top. That makes them a good side, but and we maybe should be saying, talking up Scottish football and saying there's maybe not such a big gulf between the leagues as a lot of people say there is, because there's a Premier League side getting beaten heavily, not narrowly, heavily by a second tier, a second league team, second division. So you look at that and you go, that is an embarrassing result for Hamilton. I'd like to know what the report in the game was, just to say, you know, how bad were they, how did they play overall, but nevertheless to lose 4 goals is a pretty bad day.
Yep. In other results, I think Dunfermline must take heart. League leaders in League One at Roughie, 2-2 against Ross County, and Ross County are, you know, one of those sides I think not too many people like playing against. They did have a blow when, you know, in the last 7 days they've lost their 2 main strikers in Curran and of course Liam Boyce. But fair play, Alex Schalk's come in, Brian Graham's come in, and both these guys have scored today. Yeah,
the 2 of them have come up with the goods, but I'm sure Jim McIntyre would have rather had his best 2 available with the goals that they've been scoring and the partnership they've got up. But all credit to Dunfermline, they're on the way up. I don't know if you looked at their attendance last week in the league game. It was something like 4,500. It was better than some of the SPL attendances. So a Dunfermline side on the up will get the support back again, and certainly that result today will encourage them to go back again.
I always had a feeling, Murdo, that Morton were more than capable of going to Livingston and getting the result. Just a Thomas O'Weir header settled this one, but again, I've been well impressed with what Jim Duffy's achieved with Morton, and I think even talking to him on this programme on a number of occasions, that Morton have always been about just make sure that they're in this division and they stay in it, but to get a nice little cup win as well.
Yeah, well, that's so important to them. But I think looking at the fixtures before the game started, Peter, you're thinking Morton are slight favourites. But being favourites, you've got to go away from home and do the business. And Livingston at home, new manager, then it's always going to be tough. And Morton, Jim Duffy's got them well organised, they can score goals, and they've got their reward today, because that wasn't an easy game. That was one of the tough ones for them, somebody in their own league. So I think Morton to go through there is a good performance, a good result.
Yep, it's been sticky and it's been close, and it's been the odd goal for Hibernian in encounters with Wraith Rovers, but they were through there today. Darren McGregor set them on their way, and then Dominique Malonga added a second, and Alan Stubbs' team will be in the draw on Monday night. And the draw on Monday night, I think around about 6:30, one man in attendance knows all about setting the Scottish Cup alight. In fact, it was I think a final that they call the Loudrup final. Brian Loudrup will be there to make the draw on Monday night, and I can still see Brian Loudrup in the days when Scottish football attracted a fair calibre of player, Gordon Smith. I can still see him just waltzing past people with a swivel of the hips and that great burst of acceleration and speed.
He was a tremendous player, no doubt about it. I mean, obviously a brother who was equally as good, maybe even if not better. You know, when you look at the two records, Michael actually had probably a better career in terms of top class, but Brian was a tremendous player without doubt. Very, very skillful. He said a lot in his game, Peter. Pace, ability to beat a man, pass the ball. To this day, still loved greatly by the Rangers support who saw him for a couple of years before he moved on. But I thought it terrific. And what surprised me, the very fact was, and this, you'll laugh at this, I was once doing a Sky game, and the commentator said during the game, when Brian Loudrup did a bit, he goes, "Great work there with the tiny Dane." And I looked at that, and at half time I turned to him and I said, but he said, "Tiny Dane." He went, "Yeah, he's not that." I went, "How tall do you think he is?" He went, 5'7", 5'8". I said, "Well, that's not tiny, is it?" And he went, "Well, he's not the biggest." I said, "He's 6'2", and the guy couldn't believe it. And the first time I met him, he was with Mark Haitley, and I was shocked myself. I never realised he was that big. Did you meet him as well, Mother? He was,
I played against him.
Yeah, you played against him
quite a lot. Yeah,
he was tall. Most people, because his style of play, most people thought he was smaller than he was. But yeah, I knew he was big, but I didn't. He wasn't a tiny Dane. That's for sure.
But Peter, you look back at Loudrup was just part of a fantastic Rangers side. And Celtic had a very strong side as well. And then you look at all the top class players, you just wonder, will we ever get near that at all again?
Yep, should we be looking towards that? Is that a sign that there's more money in the game? That's the big question. Also as well, I don't think Brian Loudrup would recognise you, Murdo, because he would have to have looked back the way as he was running away from you. Or unless of course, I was just about to say, unless you picked him off after smashing him. But he was a wonderful player, and that cup final will live long in the memory against Hearts. I'm sure Brian Loudrup automatically would highlight Gilles Rousset's howler of the shot that went through his legs, but nevertheless it was not the mainstay of that game. The rest of it was just about Rangers running rampant. Will they do that tomorrow against Cowdenbeath? We'll discuss that. We'll get reaction now from Fir Park, because it was a 5-0 win. It was cruise control for Mark McGee's Motherwell side. Laura Brannan, was he gracious towards the opponents from the Highland League, Cove Rangers?
Yes, he was exactly that, Peter. He said at no point did Cove Rangers throw in the towel or lose their shape and discipline. He thought they can go home proud of their performance. He did acknowledge the dream start that Motherwell did make, regardless of the level of opposition they were playing, and said you are always lucky to get these goals as early as you do. So he was pleased with the application that his players showed, the professionalism as well, and the respect that they showed to Cove Rangers too. He was also pleased that James McFadden got on the pitch. He says there's a lot more to come from him, but it was good just to have him on for the second half. And I also asked him if how Stephen Pearson reacted to him taking him off before he managed to get his hat-trick, and he responded, "I don't care, because he had 70 minutes to get it and I've scored hat-tricks in a lot less time than that." So he wasn't having any of that. He also said that the real reason he took him off was because Keith Lasley is suspended next week, so he didn't want to take any chances with him because he's going to be so important next week. The Cove Rangers manager, John Sheeran, on the other hand, he said that if you take away the first opening 2 minutes of the game, he'd been very pleased with it. But when you come up against quality like Motherwell, you have to really stand up to them, and they didn't do that. But going away from the game, he is really pleased with the character that his players showed, and he's happy that they came here, got through it, and there wasn't too much damage considering.
Laura, brilliant to get the reaction from Fir Park. Thanks very much to Laura Brannan, who watched Motherwell run out convincing 5-0 winners on the day. That's a brilliant line from Mark McGee, isn't it, Murdo?
That's right. You're on long enough. But I've got to say about Motherwell's performance. That's the way you're looking at the result. It should be, the Premier League side coasting the game, winning 5-0. But it's all about attitude. Went out, got up to a great start, scored early goals, and Cove and well done to Cove as well, keeping their shape, working so hard for the 90 minutes, but Motherwell being a top side just now, good, filled with confidence, and going out there and winning 5-0.
Craig Slater scores one of those free kicks that you just dream about. It's just left side of the penalty box. You've got 5 or 6 players in the wall, and no matter even if one breaks free, you're still able to curl it into the top corner of the net and send Kilmarnock into the next round of the Scottish Cup. Gordon Smith.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good player. I mean, he wasn't getting played earlier on. He's only just now come back into contention, and yet last season, remember, we covered a few Kilmarnock games, and both Roughie and myself, like in 2 or 3 occasions when you said pick a player man of the match, we were choosing Craig Slater. So, but he'd obviously fallen out of favour a bit. Yeah. But getting back in the team, it's obviously working for him now, and to get the winning goal as well is a big boost for him. And he is good. He's a good striker of a ball from distance. I've seen him score some goals from out there. I don't remember him scoring a free kick yet, but he obviously has taken one well today.
Okay, and if we're going to pay compliments to teams, you like to highlight the winners, but sometimes a draw is well worthy of recognition, and I think Stirling Albion deserve all the praise, Roughie, against an Inverness side who are the cup holders.
Yeah, Stirling Albion, a team going nowhere a couple of years ago, and just correct me if I'm wrong here, but they are in fan ownership. I think the whole club has been turned around into a community club. They've got all the academy up and running, but they were certainly league-wise they were going nowhere. But a change in management, other players coming in, they're doing well in the league, and certainly it's a surprise, a big surprise to me. You would think that Inverness would be capable enough of going there and getting a win, but again we have to give Stirling all the credit.
Yep, let's go over some results from League 2 today as well, just in case you're wondering what happened there. There were 2 games obviously postponed due to the fact that there were teams involved in the Cup today. It was Arbroath 2, Elgin City 3, East Fife 1, Berwick Rangers 0, and Montrose 3, East Stirling 2. And here's how that has an effect on the League 2 table. Elgin City out in front. Of course, Queen's Park have a game in hand and can reduce the gap to only 1 point. Annan Athletic, they are a little further back, but I don't think Jim Chapman will be even thinking about the league tonight. I think he will basically say to his players, you are allowed to go out and enjoy yourself, but obviously don't go over the top. Is that fair, Murdo?
Have a shandy tonight and celebrate.
Have a shandy, and well worthy of it.
Without a doubt, no, it'd be fantastic. What a lift, as Alan said there, for the town as well. To have a result like that, and then you're waiting for the draw.
Yeah,
it's a great time just sitting on Monday night waiting for the draw to see who you get in the next round.
Yeah, the other point there, and I think it's a key point here, Roughie, if you're part of the Annan side, do you try and just look for the cheapest bed and breakfast and say, I'm just actually going to stay up at the moment and just party?
Well, I would like to think if there's any bed and breakfasts in Annan, you would get a free night. I think they would be part of the celebration, because as Murdo touched on it again, it is, when you go down to places like that, it is all about the butcher and the corner shop and everything, and they'll be celebrating as much as the players.
The reason I say that is because obviously Jim Chapman has to draw on a lot of players who don't stay in Annan. They actually come from the central belt and drive down there, and it makes it all the more amazing when you consider it's a part-time side that's knocked them out. So full marks to them. Anyway, that's how the results panned out in League 2. We're getting ever closer to the kick-off in Hearts against Aberdeen. What do Hearts have to do, Roughie, for you to win this game? Score goals, I get. tactically.
No, they have to stop Aberdeen playing. They have to stop their best players playing, and we've already identified who they are.
Yeah.
And if you've got a team that can do that, as Hearts, they certainly have midfield players in there who are spoilers. I think we saw up at Aberdeen that they get in, they make tackles, they spoil the game, they slow the Aberdeen down on. I think Aberdeen got a late goal that day, but certainly they did particularly well, apart from the big boy thinking he was a goalkeeper at the end of the game. But I do think that this game can go either way. Both sides have got players that can win games. Hearts have got the boy who's coming up with spectacular goals, but I just think Aberdeen have got too much in store.
I think so. I think that you look at it, I think that Aberdeen just slightly sharper. I think Hearts are a well organised team. Rob Nielsen's got them organised. I think they pass the ball well, they keep their shape pretty well, but Hearts have got more, Aberdeen's got more flair, Peter, and there's no doubt about it that they've got Rooney up front who can get goals from. That's his main asset, is the goal scoring, but not in terms of the actual playing of the game. But they've got behind him, they've got players that can actually play and be creative and can turn a game. And McGinn and Hayes are two, without doubt, that are like that. And the other one, obviously, McLean, coming from deeper. And I think that's where Hearts are going to be a problem today, because these players, and in fairness, they also get forwarded pretty well in full-back positions too. Logan and Shinnie can also drive forward, but that's where I think that's where Aberdeen have the advantage over Hearts.
But I think Hearts are the type of side, though, can defend really well. They're well organised and make it difficult and kind of spoil the game a wee bit.
Yeah.
And then allow and Riley to get forward. No, they can just a quick counter attack. But I think they're the type of side, though. They went to Celtic Park and got nothing each draw. They were up at Pittodrie, and then it was just a daft penalty late on. But they defended really well against so-called player sides.
Yes.
So I think they can handle it, and it's just how Aberdeen play. If Aberdeen stick at it, then they maybe come out and chop an end. But I think Hearts will cause really big problems for them, stop them playing, and maybe nick a goal.
Oh, that's right.
So it's a toss of the coin. It's not.
Yes.
Obviously, the more flamboyant side is the Aberdeen side, but Hearts, it could be a winning side. Just the way they set themselves out.
Well, if I'm going to be brutal again, and that seems to be my forte on this programme, Roughie, let's cut to the chase. Aberdeen, if you're talking about anyone who happens to be a star man, for me, it's Johnny Hayes. He makes them tick. He's the main man. McGinn closely followed. The rest of them, for me, are much of a muchness. Those two players are the guys, for me, that if they're on the game, they can do something out of the ordinary. Hayes especially.
Yeah, Hayes and McGinn. Hayes, McGinn, McLean. If they turn it on, then Rooney will get chances, and you have to make the chances for Rooney. These guys have to really perform. You're right. The Aberdeen midfield doesn't particularly excite me. They used to be Pollock and Jack in there with the youthfulness. Pollock's on the bench now, but apart from that, you're right. I think it's the pace of McGinn and Hayes that will cause the trouble, and I think if balls get into the box, I do think that the Hearts two centre halves can be vulnerable. Some they can be casual, not continental. Think they've got all the time in the world, and they haven't, because there's guys like Hayes and that have got pace who will trouble them, and I think that's where all the trouble will come
Murdo
from.
says the Hearts work hard, Roughie, to stop people playing. That is quite funny. Sometimes the two games Murdo mentioned there were away games, and you can be a bit more comfortable playing like that away from home. But when you're at home, there's a little bit of an onus on you as well in front of your own supporters to actually go and try and win the game. And that's why I think if they become a little bit more open, Hearts, in terms of trying to win the game, that's when they might leave themselves vulnerable to the sharpness. Because I agree with you, Peter. I think Hayes, in the games I've been watching, he has been the outstanding player on a regular basis for them, most consistent player. When he was out injured for a wee while, they struggled without him. So he is a key player. But Robbie Nielsen, knowing what he's like in terms of his organisation, he'll probably have studied that himself and think we need to stop him and we need to stop him. Because the thing about Rooney is it's down to service to him. If he doesn't get the service, he doesn't do an awful lot. If he's not getting the chances created, he doesn't do much on his own. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. That game is getting ever closer to kick off, the two teams in the tunnel, and they'll be heading out to well, just a cacophony of noise that is generated inside Tynecastle Stadium, and as ever the atmosphere is fantastic. You just wonder what that stadium will be like when Anne Budge and the board eventually get the plans in, get that old main stand built up to be even more intimidating. I do hope they build it right close to the touchline, Roughie, because I think that's what makes it so special. They are on your tail from inches away, and if you've had a bad pass, they let you know about it.
Yeah, and I'm sure if you ask Gordon and Murdo, that's the kind of stadium you'd want to play in. You know, that's when you really know you're in a game. That's when you really know you have to step up and produce when the fans are on top of you, and there's nothing better than going to a stadium like that and being on a winning run. You know, if you go there and you're winning, it's a tremendous feeling. But I think you can see in the tunnel there that the players are all up for it, and it's an exciting place to go.
You know, the funny thing about it is one of these stadiums you like playing there. I did. I liked it a lot, playing a game there, but I also like going to watch games there too.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know what I mean? You feel like an atmosphere, a football atmosphere when you're there, and that's why it's a great venue. And I'm so glad that it was, when Hearts went through all their problems. I know for a fact that people in Lithuania, the people who were trying to get their money back out, were considering the fact that they knock the stadium down and use it for building, and they were stopped from doing that by the Edinburgh City Council, who said they would not get planning permission for it. It's a listed building, it has to remain a football stadium, and that was great. And the fact that that is still Hearts Stadium. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm not actually so sure they would have had it as a listed building. There are a lot of buildings in Edinburgh, as I know. But the actual stadium, I think it was a wee bit of jiggery pokery just to stop them, making it into a Lithuanian supermarket. Yeah, and all the jambos that are on the council. Yeah. That's what I remember about Edinburgh, Roughie. But you know, as you can see, I mean, the teams that we've discussed, it's now about calling it. Murdo, who's going to win it and why?
Tonight, I think it will finish a draw, a 1-1 draw. I'll go back up to Pittodrie, and again that could end up a draw. I think this could be a long drawn out process. Is it penalty kicks after the second game, after the replay? Yeah. So I think it could go down to that and end up, because I think, similar to what I said, I just think the way they're organised, and it will be very defensive from Hearts early on. They'll make sure that they'll stop the Aberdeen Flair players to play. They'll be stopping them, and then Aberdeen will try and get forward, and Aberdeen will organise at the back as well. So I think it's a great balance, and for a side who was in the Championship last year, and to be sitting at this level and be able to play at this level is a great encouragement to Robbie Nielsen and his squad.
Yep. Let's go back to the Shirebury Excelsior Stadium, because Derek Clark has been listening to both managers. Relief at getting through for Mixu Patalainen, Derek?
Yeah, it was relief, but he felt that his side controlled the game. He says he was delighted. It was a very professional performance from them, and their attitude was spot on. He felt that, like I said, they controlled the game. He had a word with them at half-time, because I felt Airdrie could have went in at half-time in front, but he said they had a word with them at half-time, the United players, and they got more on the ball. There was more balance about them the second period, and he was delighted to see the free kick from Blair Spissel fire into the corner of the net. He was asked also if he hopes that will act as a springboard to the flailing league campaign. He says he hopes so. He doesn't know for sure, but he says the spirit has never been that low in the United camp, and he's hoping they can go on now and pick up more wins.
Okay. Also, as far as Airdrionians were concerned, was it a dejected Eddie Valecki Black?
Well, there certainly was. He was absolutely devastated when he came in there. He says he feels gutted for the players because they put absolutely everything into the game. You have to agree with him. They worked tirelessly. Second half, they didn't really test the United backline as much as they did the first half, but I guess fitness comes into play with that one. In terms of Rohan Ferguson making his first start for Airdrie here this afternoon, 18-year-old goalkeeper. Airdrie received an offer prior to this game, and he says that's added a few £1,000s onto the the offer. He was obviously quizzed who is the team that put the offer in, but he refused to answer. He says we'll read it in the next couple of days, so we're all sort of scratching our heads as to finding out who the team that may have put that offer in for Rohan Ferguson, who was absolutely sensational for Airdrie here this afternoon. Surprisingly, it was his first start of the campaign, but he's certainly got a bright future ahead in the game.
Okay, thank you very much to Derek Clark for that. And
1-0.
1-0 already. Murdo, talk us through it.
Goodness me, corner kick just played deep to the back post. It was flicked in towards the front post, and then another flick into the right hand corner.
It was Ozturk, I think, got the header in, Peter. I think he just won the ball at the back post and headed it in.
Well, what a start, Roughie.
Yeah, it's a fantastic start for Hearts. You could actually feel that stadium erupting for where we're sitting here just now, and that certainly will give them, everything to go for this game. And it's an uphill task now for Aberdeen, because when you've scored that early, it's really important that you can keep it going. But certainly, Aberdeen will be looking for some kind of reaction very quickly.
And what was good about the goal, it looked as if it's come from the training ground, because it was just a corner kick deep to the back post. The header back in, Peter, and then it was
It's Patterson that scored it. It was Ozturk that won the header at the back post, and it's Patterson who's got the goal.
Goodness.
Well, it's a great start, nevertheless, for Hearts. They are a goal up in the match, and what a start it is. And over the course of the afternoon, we've been talking about the strengths and weaknesses of both sides. And I mean, who could have predicted a Hearts win out of the four of us?
Just you, Peter?
It's a long way to go, though, because
only 3 minutes and 29 seconds
I'm
later.
going to wallow in the 3 minutes, Murdo, because this Aberdeen side more than capable of coming back into it. We've discussed in detail, and of course thanks to Derek Clark for giving us his assessment of Dundee United's win against AIRDRIEONIANS. But what about Rangers against Cowdenbeath? Of course, Mark Warburton's been dealing with the flack that was coming his way, Murdo, with the two pre-contract signings of Josh Windass and Matt Crooks from Accrington Stanley. But tomorrow all he wants to do is make sure Rangers are in the pot on Monday.
Yeah, I think that's so important, but I think the way Mark Warburton's been handling the whole thing, I think every game Rangers go out, they're very professional, they play good football, they play at a pace, and it'll be the same tomorrow. And Cowdenbeath will just be part of the game, and if they can get forward and maybe nick a goal, but I just think Rangers will be far too strong for them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Rangers have been taking care of everybody in their own division, and having beaten Hibs comfortably recently, and then they'd even taken 6 goals off a Dumbarton team that have won today in the cup and got through there in the next round. I think that shows that Rangers are strong, and I think they'll be too strong for Cowdenbeath.
I think Colin Nish has got Cowdenbeath back. They were getting tanned 5 and 6-0 there at the beginning of the season, but he's got them a wee bit more organised. He's an uphill task tomorrow, and I've got Rangers to win by 4 goals at least.
Yeah, and isn't it great?
An uphill task to win by at least 4 goals.
Isn't it great? Isn't it great that Murdo, he's brought back one of his classic old school ground sayings, the Vic Tanned. But we get the gist of it, Roughie, to be honest with you. I think
Colin Nish is doing really well. But
well, they have been doing it. What I'm saying is that what game was it? Hearts? Was it Hearts they went and get beat 10-0 or something like that? 9-0?
Yeah.
Was that Cowdenbeath? Yeah. And that's the way it was happening at the beginning of the season. But
Nicol in charge at the time.
yeah, he's had a couple of good results recently, but I don't think that's good enough to trouble Rangers tomorrow.
No, absolutely not. Okay, strange things happen in the Cup. Some people get a lift from it. They get a huge buzz out of looking at players that maybe think they're better. I think Murdo hit the nail on the head. It's all about attitude, Murdo.
It is. It's all over the pitch, all over the country. Every team, big sides are the favourites going into every game, Peter, but they've got to go out and play well. Hamilton players didn't do that today, and they suffered for it. And I'm just looking at the start of this game, and it just looks as if both sets of players are up for a top game. And now it's opened up. Hearts getting the first goal. It means that at any point they can sit in and soak up all the pressure, whereas Aberdeen have got to be careful in case of a counter-attack. There's pace up front for Hearts, and they could nick another one.
I think it's been mainly Hearts in this first early part of the game. Aberdeen have done nothing so far in the game. It's been Hearts have been totally the team putting them under pressure. I just think they're taking advantage of the home thing, but they've got the goal from it as well. But I think Hearts have started this game very strongly.
Yeah, and of course the tremendous lift and the noise inside the stadium. I mean, I sometimes look and I think to myself, I listen to a lot of professional players at the absolute top level. At the absolute top level, they will say, listen, you know, fans can't win matches, but they can actually just lift you and give you that little surge of adrenaline at times, Roughie.
Yeah, particularly when you score 3 minutes into a game. You know, I always think when you score that early, it sets the other team back maybe 10-15 minutes, because as Murdo's just touched on it there, in the back of your mind is we're 1-0 down. If we lose another one in the next 5-10 minutes, you know, we're in trouble here. So it takes you 5-10-15 minutes to fight your way back into the game, and certainly I think that's what Aberdeen will have to do, because when you're in an arena like that, you know, the Hearts players' hearts will be pumping that wee bit quicker, and with them winning 1-0, you know, you would expect them to get chances to get another one.
Yeah. Okay. What about the other match? Stranraer against Celtic. We'll be talking about that very shortly, and obviously looking at the teams that have made it into the next round, the 5th round of the Scottish Cup. We'll also keep you up to date with Manchester United against Sheffield United. That match has started as well. I wonder what prominence Louis van Gaal will put on the United team getting into the latter stages of the FA Cup. It was no problem for Arsene Wenger's Arsenal. They defeated Sunderland by 3-1. If you're a football fan, you weren't able to get to the game today, give us your thoughts on your team's performance at Peter and Roughie on Twitter, and of course facebook.com/Peter and Roughie. We'll be reading out some of your tweets coming up in the next few minutes. The main news from today: Annan are the heroes of the Scottish Cup results. They defeated Hamilton Accies by 4-1. Will Hearts be knocking out Aberdeen? Keep it right here. Welcome back to Peter and Roughie's Saturday Football Show. Alan Rough is alongside me, Peter Martin, our other two panellists, Gordon Smith and Murdo MacLeod, on an entertaining afternoon in the Scottish Cup. There is one match underway at the moment, and the early moments of it, it's all been about the home side because Hearts are leading by a 0-0. Callum Patterson is the man with the header to give them that early lead. Are they worthy of it, Murdo MacLeod?
Without a doubt, they started really well. An early corner kick there, whipped to the back post, headed back across and headed into the Aberdeen net. And since then, the play's been very good. Aberdeen have been trying to get forward. They've knocked a free kick into the Hearts box, but Hearts have got so many players back. They're well organised and made sure that it came to nothing.
Yeah, Aberdeen will need to lift it from the way they're playing at the moment, Peter. They're actually been, second class at all in this game so far. Hearts are controlling it. They've been stronger, moving the ball about, passing it really well, making good runs off the defenders. And I think that, as I say, you're looking at it, you're just thinking, obviously opportunities for the way Aberdeen, the sort of players they've got, but they can't get them in the game so far. I mean, we've not seen Hayes and McGinn at all in this match.
Yep, absolutely. And the big worry, of course, is worry for me is when I see Roughie working tirelessly on his computer there. I'm wondering if he's managed to get a higher score on Space Invaders than normal. But you seem to be okay, Roughie. When Gordon was talking there, I thought he's working away there, looking at the stats to see if there's any analysis.
No, I'm just actually making sure Strictly's not on tonight.
Why do I not find that a surprise?
The voice is back on.
No. To be honest with you, just to stick with us here in STV, there's lots more on. The other thing I was going to say to you guys, your old team Celtic,
yes,
at Stranraer, and again, it's not been a convincing couple of months, I think, for Ronnie Dyler, and I think the last thing he needs is any kind of shenanigans or upset from Stranraer.
Well, I think Celtic will start the game really well. I think they've got to get down there as good professionals, Peter, and similar to the Motherwell game today, it's got to be that type of scoreline as well. Stranraer work really hard. This is their cup final. They're playing Celtic. Was it a few years back they were down there? The last time they were down there, I think even Jackie McNamara scored in the game. But Celtic's got to go down there and be convincing and come up and be in the draw for the next round. Yeah,
and of course over the last I think a couple of days, it's now moved into a frenzy of transfer activity and speculation. You see Ronnie Dyler and John Collins at the Everton Man City game. People put 2 and 2 together, make 5. I don't think they can afford Aidan McGeady's wages, but the key point here is Roberto Martinez tonight after Everton's game in the FA Cup has confirmed that 3 teams have made an inquiry about a loan move for Aidan McGeady. Realistically, I can't see it happening. I mean, there's also a suggestion that Celtic might be in for a pre-contract with Stephen Fletcher again at Sunderland because he's out of contract in the summer, which again, it would make sense. And now, Murdo and I were talking about the Sporting Lisbon link, that they're looking at trying to get a Sporting Lisbon winger to come into the club, possibly on loan with a view to a permanent deal as well, Gordon.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the positions, you're thinking, you wouldn't think winger was one of the positions that really should be looking for. Because they've got a few people at the moment at the club who can play in that position. So it's a case that I think they're just trying to keep the fans happy too. We're looking at players that the fans will be wanting that because they'll be thinking we're under strength, we're not as good as we should be, and they're looking, as I say, to bring in cover. We've spoken about it already. We said maybe centre back and striker are the 2 positions probably that Celtic should be looking at. They're the ones they need. I think in all the other areas they're pretty well covered.
Middle of the park, it's so strong, whether it's a sitting midfield player job or the 3 in front, Peter. The 2 wide players, I think there's enough wingers at the club. There's playmakers at the club, but it's a striker, someone else. Griffiths doesn't play, then you're looking about who's going to score the goals.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and Carlos Main, the Sporting Lisbon winger that they've been linked to, Roughie. But again, I think it's not rocket science when you've got the ability to in a way outspend most of the division. For Celtic, when you look at the managers down through the years that are successful in life, they make it a good spine of a team. Celtic don't have a good spine. They've got Griffiths and they've got a strong midfield, as Murdo mentioned there. They still haven't got that central defensive area right.
They don't have a settled team. I think if you look at all good sides, you know, it's a basis of maybe 13 players, and week in, week out, you put out your tried and trusted. I think a lot of Martin O'Neill's success was we all could pick the 11 that was going to go in the park, because they all got to know each other, the ins and outs, and if you get players playing with each other, you know the strengths and the weaknesses of the guys who's behind you or beside you or in front of you. But as far as Celtic's concerned this year, it's been somebody in, somebody out, somebody in, that's in the defence, that's in the midfield and up front, you know, and that's the situation. So he really needs to sit down and get what he thinks is his best players available, because we all keep talking about the Champions League, and that's what he needs to be ready for. Not winning the treble, because the big one is the Champions League.
Yeah, although I have to say, you know, League One Stranraer, they got a good win against, you know, the top end of the table, Ayr United, last week, Roughie. But
no, there should be no. As Murdo said, they should go into the game with the right attitude, and certain players in the team will cause them trouble, and they should be winning. I mean, if they came away 2-0, 3-0, they would, as long as there wasn't any injuries or anything like that, you know, that would be positive. But to make a statement, you'd want to go and win 4 and 5.
Well, people always talk about cup shocks, and my opinion is, if you're asked what do you think about a cup shock, you shouldn't be able to answer that, because I think cup shocks are ones you don't see, ones you can't forecast. And if Celtic were to lose tomorrow, it would be a cup shock without doubt. Ronnie Dalla would be under severe pressure.
Can't it be a shock? You've just said it.
It can't be, but it would be a shock, but we don't see it coming. So it is a shock.
I think the big
Only if you're asked what's going to be a shock, and you can actually say that it's not a shock. Right?
try not to be pedantic, Murdo, will you?
Sorry.
You need to listen more to me.
The Roy Keane Clyde 1 Celtic nothing was a shock that nobody saw coming.
That's
No, not at all.
You know, that's one of the
That's
biggest
10 years
shocks.
ago.
Yeah.
10.
Well, it's like Annan 4, Hamilton 1. That's a shock. You know, you don't see that coming. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely not. Let's take you through the Scottish Cup results from this afternoon. If you have just joined us and wondering what's been happening, the shock that we're all talking about, of course, is Jim Chapman's Annan Athletic, and a great result for them, and congratulations to all the boys for that win. St Mirren 1, Partick Thistle 2 was last night, and Alan Archibald well happy, and I think reflecting on the performance, Thistle well worthy of their win, and I think Alec Ray will be looking at bigger battles to fight for St Mirren in the Championship. Today, the early kick-off, it was Linlithgow Rose 3, Forfar 3, Airdrionians 0, Dundee United 1, Blair Spittle the man to thank for getting Dundee United into the next round, Annan Athletic 4, Hamilton Accies 1, a sensational result, and Jim Chapman's side knocking the Premiership team out of the competition. Dumbarton 2, Queen of the South 1, Dunfermline 2, Ross County 2, Livingston 0, Morton 1, Motherwell 5, Cove Rangers 0, Wraith Rovers 0, Hibernian 2, and St Johnstone 0, Kilmarnock 1, and the other match, Stirling Albion 0, Inverness Cally Thistle 0. The cup holders taken to a replay back up at the Tulloch Stadium. Rangers against Cowdenbeath tomorrow, Stranraer against Celtic. Give us your prediction, Roughie, on Rangers Cowdenbeath.
Rangers Cowdenbeath, I think Rangers will win 4-0.
Gordon Smith.
I think roughly around about the same, 4 or 5-0.
Murdo?
I'll go 4.
Okay, so a goals glut for Rangers against Cowdenbeath, Stranraer against Celtic, Roughie.
I don't think it'll be as convincing, but I think Celtic will be winners, maybe 3-0.
I'd say probably 3-1.
4-0.
4-0, okay. And today there's been an evening kick-off. It's at Tynecastle. It's Hearts against Aberdeen. Callum Patterson has scored the goal with the header, and at this moment Aberdeen trying to get back into it, Murdo, but I think over the 20 or so minutes Hearts will be more than happy with that early goal. That's given them a confidence boost.
Yeah, I think the first 15 minutes belong to Hearts. You know, they got the early goal, and then they've looked very strong. They'll be getting up that Aberdeen half, but I just think Aberdeen now are turning the tide a wee bit. They're getting a wee bit more into the Hearts half, and they're looking a wee bit quicker. getting the ball in behind. So no, it's a live game. You just look at it. The place is jam packed just now. It'll be a great atmosphere. And
I agree. They're only just now come back in the game, Aberdeen, a bit more. They were beginning to get into the final third of Hearts. Hearts are more or less catching in the break, but the early part of the game was totally dominated by Hearts. But Aberdeen, since that goal, and I've got slightly better now. It's a very competitive game.
Yep, and of course in previous head-to-heads, Roughie, I think Hearts will be more than aware of what Aberdeen are capable of doing, especially at Tynecastle.
Yeah, they were just a wee bit ahead of them the last time where they caught them on the hop, but certainly the players that caught them on the hop, the one that we were talking about, Hayes and McGinn and Rooney, but I really do think that Aberdeen have to get quality balls into the box, because if you've only got Rooney in there, if you put it on his head, then 9 times out of 10 he'll hit the target.
Yep, it's still 1-0 at the moment to Hearts, so we will get reaction to that game on Monday night. Join us if you can at the new time of 7 o'clock on STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow, and of course you can catch the repeat at 10:30 when sometimes Roughie changes his clothes dramatically. You never know what can happen on the repeat, but we'll be discussing the Scottish Cup, and I think over and above that we'll get reaction to the draw as well. Thank you very much to everyone who's taken the trouble to interact with us on social media. Will Hearts or Aberdeen be in the Monday night draw? Only time will tell. We'll give you a reaction to that on Monday and Tuesday. From Roughie, from Gordon Smith, and from Murdo MacLeod and myself, Peter Martin, thank you very much for watching us here on STV Edinburgh and STV Glasgow's Peter and Roughie Saturday Football Show. We'll catch you on Monday night at 7 o'clock. Good night.